Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show, coming from right here on my YouTube channel. I'm, of course, your host, John Campea. It's an awesome honor and privilege, as it is every day, to have you, my international friends, joining us as we talk about our favorite things in the world, movies and movie news and all that sorts of good stuff. Listen, guys, we've got a hell of a lot of stuff to go over here today. I'm joined today by Erin Cummings, who is here. She's filling in for Chris Carr today, who will be filling in for her tomorrow. So it's great to have Erin. And, of course, the master of fun and wonder, the gatekeeper of verisimilitude, Mr. Robert Meyer Burnett, is here. And hey, guys, before we get started, I just want to say to everybody out there, happy anniversary. Because it is, Rob, I don't know if you remember, I'm sure you've had this marked down on your calendar. Erin, you too. I'm sure most of us have been counting down to the days to this, but it is the anniversary. Today is, technically speaking, yesterday was, but since we didn't have a show yesterday, we'll say today. Today is the day we celebrate the 2-year anniversary of the finishing of production of New Mutants. That's right. It was 2 years ago today. Yesterday, technically. 2 years ago that they announced, put out this post on social media, and that's a wrap. We have wrapped shooting New Mutants 2 years on. I'm sure they must be working on the sequel by now. That's a big thing. But in all seriousness, Rob, doesn't just something like this just kind of remind you of what a hot mess this entire thing has turned into?
Well, you know what really makes me sad about this whole thing is that I love this is the New Mutants doing the Demon Bear storyline with Chris Claremont and one of my favorite comic artists of all time, Bill Sienkiewicz, left Moon Knight and came to draw New Mutants, and I dearly love the story that they were adapting. John, I was so excited for this movie. I can't even tell you. And for this to happen to this particular story, it makes me just question everything I know, all of my beliefs. The whole reason I got involved in the entertainment business, all of it comes down to the fact that New Mutants, who knows? John, are we ever going to see it?
I think we will, but I am curious, Erin. Like, as a performer, like you've been in a number of movies, a lot of television. Have you ever done a project where it's like, whoa, that project you're excited about, and then 2 years later you're still wondering? Like, have you ever had that type of an experience?
Absolutely. I mean, it's one of the reasons why I actually do prefer television. Not only because television is kind of like drug money. It's a lot of it very fast.
Television is a lot like drug money. I
heard someone compare television to drug money one time. I was like, I've never been a drug dealer, but I kind of see the comparison. But the biggest thing is that you want that instant gratification. And in fact, Tom and I were actually just talking about this yesterday. There was a movie that I did years ago, and I was like, I don't know if that ever came out. I never heard the end of it. And there's some movies that, you just kind of do and you go, well, I don't really have a vested interest in this project. Maybe you come on and do a couple days, whatever, or you just have a really bad experience, which I've also had that as well, and you just don't want to know anything about the rest of the movie. But there is a film that I am anxiously awaiting called Language Arts that I am very excited about, and I keep texting the director going, hey, any news? We did ADR recently though, so I'm crossing my fingers that it'll see the light of day pretty soon. All right. But it's very frustrating, yeah.
But who knows, guys? Maybe one of these days New Mutants will actually come out, and I still think it will. I still think it will even be in theaters, but I'm starting more and more to think it might just go direct to Hulu, but we'll have to wait and find out about that. Okay, guys, before we get into our main topics here, one thing we should talk about off the top, late last night, depending on where you live, early this morning, we've heard about this, that Colin Trevorrow had been sort of secretly working on a Jurassic World short film that's called Battle at Big Rock. And they dropped it last night. It's an 8.5-minute short film. Now, basically, it's a family. I don't know if they live in a trailer park. I believe they're just camping, though, out camping. And apparently, now, if you guys remember the end of Jurassic World: The Fallen Kingdom, the dinosaurs, the Jeff Goldblum's predictions and prophecies came true. The dinosaurs now off the island. They're out in the world now. And this kind of looks at the world where they're starting to make their way into mainland world where everybody else lives. Andre Holland from Castle Rock, Natalie Martinez, this wonderful little girl Melody Hurd, a couple other kid actors as well. And just basically something terrible happens. And I'll let you watch it just in case you haven't seen it. It is, Rob, you and I were sitting down and we started to watch this. And one of the neat things about it is that it starts with the full Universal and remember you saying, like, when's the last time you saw a short film, even a studio one, that started like with the full proper studio presentation,
right?
And started with the big Universal thing and went in there and did it. And it's like, when have we seen like a studio put that much into a short film?
Well, and then they did something with that Universal logo that's really cool.
That's right. If you haven't seen it yet, when you watch it, don't just dismiss it, because I did it first. It wasn't until the second time I watched it that I caught what it does, but you guys will see what we're talking about. Now, they had to spend millions. This had to have cost millions.
The visual effects alone.
For this. And so you've got to ask yourself, okay, well, because they're not going to make any money off this thing. You know, they put it out on YouTube, so it's not going to make any money, not any real money at any rate. The only thing I can imagine of why they did this is a very, very early piece of marketing for their next Jurassic World movie. I mean, that's it. It's just to keep everybody on the hook. It's to keep everybody tuned in. Jurassic World's a thing, everybody. Look where it is. And then they did a bunch of post-credit scenes in the short film to really establish that this is now the world. And now it starts to make sense to me why they called the new series of films Jurassic World, because apparently that's the direction they're going. Anyway, Rob, what did you think about the short, and what do you think the overarching meaning of the short is, and what does it mean moving forward?
Well, even though I'm an adult, and I was pretty much an adult when the whole Jurassic Park film came out in '93, ultimately, basically, I think what we all want is dinosaurs eating people in urban environments. I mean, that's what I've wanted to see. I want people getting eaten en masse. We got a little taste of what a dinosaur rampaging through a suburbia would look like at the end of Jurassic Park: The Lost World. And now this is giving me, well, at least it's a little, this is an appetizer before the main course, showing me what does the world look like now that there's dinosaurs everywhere. And no matter where you go, whether you're getting married, whether you're driving a car on a mountain road, whether you're camping with your family, whether you're fishing, or whether you're just, taking a leisurely boat ride down a river, all of us can be eaten. As one does. All of us can be eaten at any time. There are dinosaurs everywhere. The world is an incredibly dangerous place. The balance of power have shifted. And I, for one, John, the first thing I thought of when this short film was over was bring on the next Jurassic Park movie or the next Jurassic World movie, and I hope it's 3 hours of people getting eaten. I want to see New York. I want to see it besieged by dinosaurs, all the main cities of the world. I want dinosaur armies clashing in the Middle East. Forget drones. I just want to see pterodactyls flying in and wrecking shop on Saudi Arabian oil fields. I cannot wait. I love this.
I thought you were going to do the old Simpsons newscast thing. I, for one, welcome our new dinosaur overlords.
I do. My childhood fantasies. I mean, John, we grew up with things like stop motion animation, Valley of the Gwangi. Not to take anything away from Valley of the Gwangi, but when I first saw Jurassic Park, there was not enough Tyrannosauruses. One guy gets eaten, the lawyer. And you're like, wow. No, man, I want to see entire city blocks of people just hoovered up into the mouths of Tyrannosaurus Rexes, Allosaurus, whatever. I don't care. I just want to see people dying in the streets, being devoured by dinosaurs, flying overhead. Bring it on. And that's what this short film did for me.
Aaron, you sat down and watched a short film this morning, too.
She was terrified, by the way.
I was so scared.
She was like, ah!
Oh, my gosh. Well, there's the one part that I'm like, why are they going to show that? Why would they show that? And it has nothing to do with spiders. But don't worry if you're one of those people that doesn't like seeing certain types of things. Well, just watch it. The only problem with a T-Rex gobbling up, they can only reach so many people. They got to kind of... Like they gotta hold.
And that wasn't a T-Rex. It was like an Allosaurus.
So what you do?
Allosaurus.
Yes.
I apparently need to brush up on my dinosaurs because there's a pterodactyl and then a petrodactyl. Is that what you were saying?
I think so. Is that what they're called?
Flying through the air. I thought it was very exciting. And I will say this: while they may not necessarily make money directly off of this short film, I think that they will make money in other ways, not just with the promotion of the next film, but with the promotion of the previous film. Because I'm not going to lie, I didn't see the second Jurassic World. I saw the first Jurassic World and I didn't love it. There were a lot of things that I just went, I'm not interested in this. I like the dinosaurs. I like people getting killed. I like people running for their lives. I don't like Bryce Dallas Howard running through. I'm sorry, I'm one of those people that the heels just really threw me. But this setup makes me go, oh, I want to go back and find out how we got here. I'm now my enthusiasm and my interest in the original Jurassic Park is now renewed for the Jurassic World series. So as I'm watching this, all I'm thinking to myself is, I got to call Tom and tell him that we need to watch the Jurassic World movies again.
Then it did its job.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Then it really did its job. Question here is, guys, what did you think about Battle at Big Rock, the new Jurassic World short film? That's the highest production value you'll probably ever see in a specifically made short film, but probably just a big commercial. What did you think about it? Jump down in the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right. With that down, let's now move on to our main topics today. How do we select our main topics here on the John Campea Show? Well, it's really rather simple. You see, you guys come up with them by simply going over to www.thejohncampeashow.com/contact. Once you guys get there, fill out the form with your topic or question, hit submit, and then maybe, just maybe, you might see your topic or question featured here on the John Campea Show. And just a quick shout out, and everybody, again, to our Patreon supporters. Don't forget, guys, 15 minutes after today's show ends on our John Campea Show Discord service for our Patreon supporters, we're going to be having a live post-show open chat talking about all the topics we've had here today. So if you're a Patreon supporter, make sure you jump on over there and join us in the chat after the show is done. Okay, with that down, let's move on to our first main topic today. And our first main topic today gets sent in to us from Tina Alameda, who writes, "Greetings, everyone. Despite the divisive reviews, Jojo Rabbit just won the People's Choice Award at the Toronto International Film Festival, which is, by the way, their top award at that film festival. This is a huge deal considering only one winner this decade wasn't nominated for Best Picture at the Oscars. What are your thoughts on this win?" All right, thanks a lot for sending that in. And yes, Jojo Rabbit, which, by the way, if I just bring it up here, Rabbit Rotten, the reviews aren't that divisive. They've gotten a little bit stronger, I believe. I believe it went north of 70. Yeah, the critic rating right now is sitting at 73%, which means roughly 3 out of every 4 critics enjoy it. But it did take the top spot at arguably the most important film festival in the world, which is the Toronto International Film Festival, in one top spot. And one of the things that Tina mentioned too is absolutely correct. What does this mean for Jojo Rabbit as we head into Oscar season? Well, it sets it up pretty well, because when you go over the last 10 winners of the top prize of the Toronto International Film Festival, this is what you're looking at. These are the past 10 winners. 2018 Green Book won it at the Toronto Film Festival, went on to win Best Picture at the Academy Awards. Fabulous movie, by the way. 2017, Three Billboards was the winner at TIFF. It went on to be a Best Picture nominee. 2016, La La Land won. Went on to become a Best Picture nominee. In 2015, Room won, went on to be a Best Picture nominee. 2014, The Imitation Game, went on to be a Best Picture nominee. 2013, 12 Years a Slave, went on to win Best Picture at the Academy Awards. 2012, Silver Linings Playbook, got a Best Picture nomination. Now, then there was a Lebanese film in 2011 called Where Do We Go Now? That didn't get any Oscar nominations and stuff like that. But then you go back again to 2010, King's Speech, won Best Picture at the Academy Awards. And in 2009, Precious, which then, of course, went on to be nominated for Best Picture at the Academy Awards. Basically speaking, from a mathematical point of view, you get nominated or you win the Toronto International Film Festival, you get nominated for Best Picture. That just seems to be it. And now I did not have Jojo Rabbit listed on my can't miss absolute locks to be nominated for Best Picture at the Academy Awards this year. I've got to redo that list because now it's almost a certainty, mathematically speaking. When you have 9 out of the last 10 winners of TIFF being nominated or winning Best Picture at the Academy Awards, you've got to sit back and think, well, then this thing's got a real significant shot. Now, another interesting thing to point out here, guys, is that one of the films that I mentioned that we should keep our eye on, and it could be a possibility, is this Asian film called Parasite, which has been doing great at the film festival. Well, it was the second runner-up at the Toronto Film Festival. The first runner-up was a Netflix film with Kylo Ren, Adam Driver, and Scarlett Johansson called A Marriage Story, which is basically about a couple celebrities whose marriage is falling apart. Everybody's saying it's awesome. The synopsis does nothing for me, but whatever, I'll check it out. But it should be known those were the runner-up films. this has got to be good for this. Anyway, Rob, you heard about Jojo Rabbit winning the Toronto Film Festival. What are your thoughts, and what do you think this does for it positioning going into the Academy Awards?
Well, it's been interesting reading the reviews. The sort of, it is a divisive movie, but I think what's really interesting about the film is people seem to be more worried about how everybody feels about it as to whether or not it's a good movie or not. And I look at it, I thought it was pretty apparent from the trailers what kind of a movie it is. So it's nice to see that audiences once again are responding to the film as opposed to critical voices, which to me, critics are becoming less and less reliable because they're not so much reviewing movies anymore as they're reviewing politics within movies. I'm getting a lot more of that, and this definitely has that in it. I mean, look, if you're going to make a movie where a kid who is a total Nazi fanboy and who has Hitler as a imaginary friend, you're going to be pushing some buttons. And to make that movie a comedy and to make it a Taika Waititi movie, there's going to be a lot of people that aren't even going to give it a chance. So this is an audience saying, you know what, we really like this movie. And to me, this is the best kind of word of mouth. And it made me more excited to see the movie than ever before. Because these are discerning audiences. These are audiences that are tastemakers for the next year of film. And I don't know, John, I'm pretty stoked.
Well, again, to be fair, 3 out of every 4 critics, like the vast majority of the critics, are really enjoying this film and liking it. Aaron, I know when you first saw the trailers for Jojo Rabbit, you were quite excited about it. Yeah. How does this all strike you, it winning the TIFF and all that kind of stuff, and how does this position it going forward?
Well, first of all, what I think is funny is I was actually on what's the new thing that you just launched?
Discord.
Yeah, I was on the Discord, and yes, everybody, I do read it. I don't always pop in, although I did say hi to everybody last night. And somebody, when this was first brought up that it won People's Choice, somebody wrote back, well, People's Choice Award isn't that big of a deal, and I think they might have mistaken it for
the People's Choice
Awards, which I thought was pretty funny. So no, the People's Choice of Toronto Film Festival is fantastic, and not just in the past 10 years, but I was reading back. I mean, you go all the way back to 1981, Chariots of Fire, The Big Chill, Places in the Heart, The Princess Bride, Roger Ramirez. I mean, like you got to go and look at the entire list, not just in the last 10 years, but all the way back. It has really established itself as a call to what is going to be popular, or at least what's going to be something that really people respond to, whether critically or otherwise. And I agree with you, Rob. I think that the voices of the critics are not as powerful as they once were because more people have platforms now.
Right.
I mean, I don't have to have a degree in theology of film in order to have a really popular blog or website that people go to and look at me, look to someone like me as a critic. So a lot more people who are real fans of film, not necessarily studying the nature of film. And I agree with you looking at the politics of it. One of the reasons why I love this, in addition to what you were saying, Rob, is, there is an honesty that when you look at something, and I think that it's also, the film is an allegory for what we're living through right now. There's that really powerful picture of a young child wearing this little mini KKK outfit. And it's this idea of, like, you have a child who doesn't know what they're believing in. They're just kind of following what they're being taught. And they think, well, this is supposed to be the right thing. And we can, in hindsight, look at something like Nazi Germany and Hitler, and we know now, oh my gosh, that's horrible. But I really think that if we look at it and say this is an allegory for how evil gets translated and passed down to generations, and that when you have a child that looks up to someone that this child has been taught is where you want to, what you want to emulate, but then starts questioning that, I think that's really where the exploration of this film goes. And it's one of the reasons why I'm really excited about seeing it, is to see not only how it could play for Nazi Germany at the time, but also how it may affect the time we're living in now.
Well, the question is, guys, what do you think about I'll be honest with you, I was surprised. I was surprised. I mean, excited, but surprised to hear it winning the Toronto International Film Festival. What do you guys think about that? How do you think that positions the film moving forward? Jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, with that down, let's now move on to main topic number 2. And our second main topic today gets sent in to us from Michael O'Hearn, who writes, "Hey, John, how are you? I'm doing well, thank you, Michael. CNBC reported Friday that MoviePass would shutter their doors and shut down on Saturday. I have kept up with your show for years and know your thoughts about the service, especially towards the end. Do you think MoviePass decided it was time to just cut their losses with A-List and Regal Unlimited service? Or were the financial issues really as dismal as we had been hearing, and that was the nail in the coffin?" All right, thanks a lot. And listen, it's coming a lot later than I thought. Because a year ago, I said MoviePass will be done by December, not December 2019. I thought they would have closed the doors by December 2018. And if they had 3 brain cells to rub together, they would have closed their doors in 2018 and not gone on to continue to lose millions and millions and millions of dollars. But they didn't. They stubbornly kept the doors open. Why are they shutting down now? Is it because of AMC and Regal and things like that? No, they're shutting down because they have been hemorrhaging money for ages now, and they simply ran out of money to hemorrhage, and no more investors were coming along to continue to feed their losing money. Now, look, when you look at a MoviePass, I believe at the end of the day, there are 2 main reasons why MoviePass failed. One of which is on a philosophy level. Now, I understood them trying on this level, but here's the thing. They initially said, although they were lying, but they initially said that our business model is to be like gym memberships, where, I go to my local gym and maybe there'll be 70 people in there, but 7,000 people have memberships. They make their money off people not going. And that was their thing. And that Netflix, when they were exclusively a DVD delivery service, they made a chunk of their money off of people who subscribed to unlimited mailing, up to 3 movies at a time, but maybe did 1 movie every 2 months. And that's where they really made their money, not off the power users. So they thought, well, we're going to have that sort of thing. We'll get millions and millions of subscribers, but only a small percentage will actually take advantage of the service and go. There's obviously one big, massive problem with that philosophy. People don't like going to the gym. People love going to the movies. So, there's a big problem with your philosophy there. But anyway, that was a lie anyway. Look, we all know what became revealed was that MoviePass's real business strategy was one of blackmail. They wanted to amass a huge user base with a ridiculously low price and I was as excited as anybody when they announced $10 a month for unlimited movies. I was as excited as anybody for it until you started looking into it. Their real business plan that I think becomes apparent to see that as I looked into it, I'm like, well, this is clear what their business plan is to me at any rate. Their business model was that of blackmail. They wanted to amass a massive user base so then that they could use that user base as a weapon against movie theaters to try to strong-arm movie theaters into cutting them in on a percentage of their concession stand sales, to which AMC always said from the beginning, we are never going to work with you. And they said, sure you will. And then what happened? Eventually, remember with all the stories that came out that all of a sudden MoviePass pulled a bunch of the AMC theaters off their service list? See how you like that, AMC? And AMC was just like, go for it. And then eventually they renewed the service. Then they started trying to strong arm the movie studio saying, hey, if you want your movie to be popular this weekend, and what did they do? I remember it was the weekend of the Jennifer Lawrence movie, Red Sparrow. And I believe the Bruce Willis Vigilante movie remake,
Death Wish.
Death Wish. They were both coming out. So what did MoviePass do? They made it, Death Wish made a marketing agreement with MoviePass. So everywhere over MoviePass that weekend was Death Wish, which is fine, nothing wrong with that. But you know what MoviePass card holders, you know what movie they couldn't go to see that weekend using their MoviePass card? Wouldn't let them go see Red Sparrow. Red Sparrow wouldn't make a deal with them. Red Sparrow wouldn't buy promotion money. Death Wish did. So not only are we going to promote Death Wish, we're not even going to let our viewers, we're not even going to let our customers go to see your movie, huh? And that was like, I said it forever, they were using old mafia strategies, and that was their business model. Being giant dicks was their business model. And when you base it on that, and when you have movie theaters that are wise to it, and they're like, no, it's never going to work. Now, Rob, we talked about this the other day about the reason it will work for AMC and Regal is because they make their money off concession stands. That's where they're getting their money from. So it will work for them. And that's what MoviePass was trying to extort out of the movie theaters. And let's remember this, guys. MoviePass didn't come up with this movie-going subscription service. Cineworld in the UK has been doing it for a decade. They've been doing it for a decade. And now they own Regal, by the way. So anyway, the eventual fall of it, this is something they should have, you know what, when Cinemia, which was MoviePass's competitor, when they just realized this isn't going to work, and I liked Cinemia, I did, but they started to show the cracks in their armor too, and the moment they realized this isn't working, they sent out a notice to the subscribe, guys, we're pulling the plug. That's what MoviePass should have done a year ago. Instead, they try to just kind of try to think of a new hustle, try to think of a new scam. They changed the what do you call the agreement between the service agreement? They changed the service agreement with the customers like 9 or 10 times. But now you can see movies these days. Then 5 weeks later, well, now you can't. Now you got to do this. And now you can't. It was just inevitable. They should have pulled the plug on this forever ago. All I can say is, as somebody who was excited when it first came out, and I signed up for 2, to quote Jack Nicholson in Batman, I'm glad you're dead. So I'm glad they're gone. Anyway, Rob, the MoviePass saga is now coming to an end, hopefully to never rear its ugly head again. But what are your thoughts on this whole situation overall?
Well, I got a MoviePass. I got one for the holidays. It was paid a year in advance when it was new. Very exciting.
I bought a couple for friends. I bought like 6-month passes for a couple of friends.
When I started, the first time I went and used it, I'm like, how does this work? I'm like, this cannot work. This business model does not work. It was apparent to me, and I used it for 3 or 4 months before they started playing around with their service agreements, and I'm like, of course this doesn't work. This didn't work from the very beginning. It never would have worked. And you look, I don't know if these guys were just stupid who came up with MoviePass, or they really thought that they were going to be able to use mafia tactics and strong arm people into going. The only reason, look, it's if you own your movie theater, like AMC does, or like Regal does, or their parent company, then you can make it work. Just like a gym, you own the venue. The company owns the gym. But when you don't own the movie theater, how do you ever make any money? I mean, all I had to do was go see 3 movies, and I was already making them go broke. And if everybody was doing that, like you said, John, astutely, people love to go to the movies. And when you got a MoviePass, it was like, wow, I'll go every night. Because why not? Especially if you live close to a movie theater. And if that was the case, which it clearly was, they ran out of money immediately. They didn't realize how dumb what they were doing. You know what it is? It's like this was a business model made by people that don't actually go to the movies. They were trying to come up with ideas. I feel that way about most development executives in Hollywood. They're the ones you have to meet with, and you're trying to tell them what movies you want to make, and they're looking at you telling you why you shouldn't make that movie, and you're like, really? And then, of course, over the last 10 years, just about everything I ever met with on a development executive level has been made, and those development executives no longer have their jobs. I feel that's what happened with MoviePass. The people that were running it had no idea. They were not film goers. They were not film fans. They didn't understand what they were doing. And I've never seen a company implode. It's actually kind of entertaining to watch. If you go back and you chart their terms of service and how they changed them over the last year, it's kind of funny. It's kind of a comedy of errors.
And if you chart their stock prices, Helios and Matheson, the parent company of it, it was so funny because right after they launched a $10 plan, their stock price just went up like crazy to about, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe it was around $60 a share is where it went up to. It went down in about a year to sub 1 cent a share, and they got delisted, I think, and it just became a comedy of errors. Aaron, I don't know, did you ever own MoviePass? And
No.
when you're looking at this situation, how do you see the failure of it, and why didn't it work?
Yeah, I don't know. I heard about it, but it did have one. It always rang to me too good to be true, and definitely too good to last. And as I'm listening to you use all of these terms for, like they strong arm them and like a mafia style arrangement, it really does sound like that. And Rob, I was actually thinking about exactly what you're saying. There was a period right after the Silicon Valley boom when everybody who made a ton of money in the world of the internet decided, well, hey, now I've got a lot of money. I'm going to go to Hollywood and I'm going to become a movie producer, and I'm going to get all the spoils that come with that. And by spoils, I mean I'm going to buy a big house in the hills and I'm going to have sex with a lot of 21-year-old girls. And I went to those parties, I'll be honest, and I was like, these people have no idea what Hollywood is all about. They're just here to be gross. And there is something really nefarious about that. There's a great article in Los Angeles Magazine right now talking about certain people who just want to come to Hollywood because they have this idea of what it's about. And for MoviePass, it was very clear that they just said, oh, we've got a lot of money to throw at this, and we're just going to be in Hollywood, without really understanding how the film industry works, how film fans, what drives them to go see films, and that they can actually have the ability to, as you said, John, strong arm companies like AMC that have been around, that understand how everything works, and then not surprisingly, they fizzle and they fade away. I'm with you though. I'm really surprised that we're even still talking about this. When I saw that, I went, didn't that happen like a year ago, 6 months ago, something like that? It's really surprising that they didn't just cut their losses and and save themselves a long time ago. But I think that this is also a great lesson. Hollywood is a very nice, open, warm pool. Everybody's welcome to jump on in, but you got to learn how to swim first if you want to jump from the high dive. You can't just go in and act like you're going to own the pool. It just doesn't work like that.
Well, one of the things I wanted to say is that the way that movie theaters and movie theater chains work with the studios and how their business model works with both rentals and then the concessions and the things that they sell has been around for a long time.
And forged over a century.
Forged over a century. So these guys basically came in and they said, yeah, we want a piece of your business. Like they really, and why would you possibly think that would work? I mean, and can you imagine if you're a movie theater chain owner and somebody said that to you? I mean, like, well, how do you do it, John? You went,
yep.
Like that. I mean, like, there's just no way. And the fact that they even tried doing that, that's when I said, these people are idiots.
Yeah. And I remember, who was the guy during the Iraq War? Follow me here. During the Iraq War.
Dick Cheney.
No, there was an Iraqi public information minister. I think they called him Baghdad Pete. Was that his name? It was the guy who every day on the news during the Iraq War, he was the representative for the Iraqi government, and he got on and said, no, we are pushing back the Americans at every front. And meanwhile, they will never enter into our main city. Meanwhile, you could hear the shells going off in the back. It's like, everything's good. We're winning this war. Meanwhile, you see buildings falling down behind him. That's what the CEO of MoviePass was to me. It's like, no, this is great. Everything's going to work. It's going to be fabulous, guys. Just wait. And here's the thing. I remember when MoviePass first came out and said $10 a month, blah, blah, blah. And AMC said, I remember this clearly. AMC said, and I was working with AMC at the time, and AMC said, we are never going to work with you on any official capacity. We are never going to work with you because and they said this publicly. They put out a public statement. I believe the CEO at the time was Gary Sanchez, I think. But anyway, he put out a statement that said, this business model will not work. And we don't want to contribute to our fans getting accustomed to something only to have it disappear a little bit later, and we are not getting behind this. To which everybody said, AMC doesn't get it. AMC doesn't know how this is the future and everything. And AMC is like, this ain't going to work. And it didn't work.
Well, but it was the creatures of habit. You can't have something. People want to sign up for something, and they only want it to get better. They don't want it to get worse. So if you're going to give somebody something, and then you're going to start chipping away at it, and then they show it to the movie theater expecting to see Red Sparrow, and then all of a sudden Red Sparrow is taken away, and then they don't trust it, and they say, well, how do I know that I'm going to be able to use my MoviePass to go see this other movie next weekend? And then they start losing people. I agree.
It's the Fyre Fest festival of MoviePass.
Yes, it is the
That's
Fire
a great
Festival of
analogy.
MoviePass.
Yeah.
I remember my buddy Soul finally, he loved MoviePass, but he finally had enough because he remember said, yeah, so I got rid of my MoviePass because I wanted to go to a movie this Saturday at the local theater, and there was literally at my local theater, big theater chain, there was one screening time of one movie. Like I could see that movie at 3 p.m. that afternoon. I could see no other movies, no other screening times. It's like, there it went. Anyway, guys, we went on with this long enough. What do you guys think about now the demise of MoviePass? Is it a long time coming? Do you have fond memories of them? Or is it like me
Bye,
and
Felicia.
Jack Nicholson? Yeah, I'm glad you're dead. Jump down to the comments section below and leave us your thoughts. All right, let's move on to the third main topic today. And our third main topic today gets submitted to us by Landon Irvin, who writes, as I've heard, you love the first season of The Boys, and I gotta say I did too. The whole idea of a show like this is incredible and out of the ordinary for this generation. The actors are phenomenal and it's very entertaining, but as we know, season 2 of this show will be coming out. My questions for you are, what are you wanting to see out of season 2, and do you think it can be as good or even better than season 1? Thank you, and bring on the filthy. All right, thanks a lot for that, Landon. And Robert, yeah, we got a chance to see The Boys season 1. I thought it sounded very cool. The graphic novel was obviously cool, but who knows if it's going to translate well. Season 1 blew me away, dude. Like, I loved it. What would you say about this? What's the potential and what are the challenges for something like The Boys season 2 moving forward?
Well, first of all, I think the show, like the viewer, like our viewer, writer, he said it's a great show. And I think it's better than the actual source material that it was based on. And I think, what's really interesting about The Boys, and this is true of the comic as well, is it's really an examination of if there are superheroes in the world, and by definition, all of us. It's really, again, superheroes are just a proxy for everybody. Can we all be superheroes? But what does that mean going forward? What is the relationship? I mean, obviously, the characters in The Boys want to eliminate superheroes. I mean, the idea is let's get rid of them all because they're all evil, corrupt, horrible people. And if they're not, they will be eventually. So I really think that moving forward, it's going to be interesting to see how are we going to examine where do superheroes now fit into the world? Do they fit into the world? And how do you reconcile that with what, say, Butcher wants? I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's going to be really interesting to see. And especially The Watchmen is coming out, which is sort of dealing with the same issue. And we're going to, in a way, I kind of see The Watchmen as a extension of The Boys now, even though I shouldn't feel that way. But now we're getting shows, superheroes are very popular, but now we're getting these deconstructions of what is the superhero myth. What does that mean to us if they really existed? And by definition, do we need superheroes? What do superheroes mean? And I think they're going to continue on. That's certainly what the comic does. And the comic gets pretty outrageous. And I think that they can do the same thing. I mean, how do you escalate what they've already done? I don't know.
I think The Boys season 2 is going to face a massive challenge. I'll be honest with you. Now, you're right. I love The Boys. First of all, we've had some great, we talked about our top 5 best comic book shows on TV right now. Between The Boys, Doom Patrol, and Umbrella Academy, I don't know there's ever been a better time for superhero stuff on television. It's incredible. And The Boys is right near the top of that list for me. I love it. But while I am looking forward to The Boys season 2, I will tell you what, I don't know that if it's going to be good or not. And here's why. It's part of what you just so brilliantly laid out there, Rob. Part of The Boys is there's a novelty factor. And novelty is sometimes seen as a bad word. No, if you use novelty right, it can be incredible. And they use that novelty. Okay, superheroes are in the world and they exist, but they're dicks. Go. And you can do something on that and do something great. My concern, because I love The Boys season 1, my concern is, does that get old going into a season 2? You've done it. You did the shtick. You did the novelty factor. It's that. Can you keep just doing that, and will it have the same impact on us as an audience? I'm not saying it won't, but I'm saying I've got concerns. And I think if there's any challenges and obstacles in their own way, it's actually, ironically, their own success. The fact that they did that novelty and that shtick so well in season 1 and made it so entertaining and made it far deeper than it had any business being, that will become kind of a hurdle, I think. It's like, okay, well, we've seen there, we've been there, we've done that. Guys who don't like superheroes, they want to get rid of superheroes. Superheroes are corrupt and they're evil, and then behind the scenes, they're all this kind of stuff. Oh, but maybe there's one or two good seeds among them. We've been there, done that. Will we have that feeling? I'm not saying we won't. And I'm not saying that I'm not excited about season 2. I am. But I think there's any one big challenge coming out of it. It's going to be overcome. And what you often say, comic book movies need to transcend their genre. Can season 2 transcend season 1 and become more and evolve? That's going to be the challenge. Aaron, you're hearing about something like this. What do you think some of the particular challenges are? And are you looking forward to The Boys season 2?
I'm very excited about season 2. And one of the reasons why I'm excited is because there's going to be a lot of turnover. I mean, Madeline Sitwell, number 1, is gone. So who's going to be running the 7? Who's going to be the behind the scenes operational director of the 7? And where did the 7 go once she's gone? Also, we saw a glimpse into Queen Maeve, played by my friend Dominique McGilligan from Astronaut Wives Club. We saw a glimpse into Queen Maeve's conflict that she had with what was going on with Homelander and her desire to really help people, even though they're all a bunch of dicks. So I'm excited to see how that is explored. And as well, we saw what leads Homelander to be the asshole that he is. We saw a little bit of his humanity and how he grew up. I feel like we're going to have a little bit of a shift in good and evil. Starlight was, of course, Miss Prim and Proper. I think that she's going to have a massive shift in season 2. And so that's what I'm excited about seeing, is the development of new characters that come in and how the characters that we've already seen are going to explore the conflicts that they have with their evil, or actually maybe Starlight embracing her dark side. I just really, if I can just beg and plead, whoever has anything to do with this show, please stop making the Deep the punchline of every joke. Like, if I see one more dolphin that he is trying to bang, I'm going to be out. If the Deep tries to bang a dolphin in season 2, I'm done.
Although I gotta say, I like what they did with the Deep, but I think you're right. They went far enough with it.
John, they jumped the dolphin on that one.
One of the things too that you could substitute. You could substitute celebrity for superhero.
Absolutely.
Sure, that's what it is.
And the rise of, everyone now has become the celebrity of their own Instagram feed. Mm-hmm. And they could further look at the transformation of culture. I mean, they talked about vote. VOD Industries wanted to have a superhero in every town. Well, what happens when that's true? What happens when we start
the MCU?
We've got the global reach and everybody's a superhero. What happens when we're all on YouTube or when we're all on Instagram, do we all become corrupt? Is being a superhero inherently a corruptible, or is it just something that corrupts everyone? Does absolute power always corrupt absolutely? And what happens when you have a group of superheroes that aren't corrupted? And superheroes that are. I mean, there's stuff that they can really delve into that I think makes the show going forward. It could be pretty exciting.
And along those lines, why do we have the expectation that superheroes should be inherently good? And I'm not saying that this is my opinion. I'm just saying, if you are good at your job, does it matter if behind the scenes you do terrible things? And that's something that in Hollywood and in politics and in sports, we all read the news. We face it every single day. We have our heroes that we look up to, and then we find out that in their personal lives, they've done X, Y, and Z. And we have to decide, am I still going to listen to that music anymore? Am I still going to support that politician? Am I still going to watch that basketball game? And so I think that that's also an interesting look at how much of a superhero's personal life matters when it comes to who we want to put our faith in, if they're still able to get the job done.
All right. You're right. The whole allegory for it is huge. And by the way, one of the storylines I'm most looking forward to in season 2, I want to see them go more with Queen Maeve with her relationship. Because that to me was actually that she was actually she broke an apparently really good relationship. And I wanted to see more about that. So I'm looking forward to that as well.
That was the best scene she had in the entire season.
I agree. And it was one of the best
I kept waiting because I was like, I know Dominique is a phenomenal actress, but I wasn't seeing it. And then that scene came on. I was like, there it is.
So good.
There it is.
And the airplane episode 2.
Yeah,
like
that was really good.
Especially at the end when she's reacting when they're standing above the bluff looking at the wreckage in the sea.
Oh my God, yeah. No, it was some of the best stuff of the season revolved around it. Anyway, guys, I want to know about you. You looking forward to The Boys season 2, but what do you see as maybe being some of the hurdles that it's going to have to overcome, some of the challenges it needs to meet going into season 2? Jump down in the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, with that down, let's now move on to main topic number 4. And our fourth main topic today is sent in to us from Danny Miluski, who writes, so James Gunn just posted a list of the full cast of the new Suicide Squad movie. There are a few big names to be excited about, like Michael Rooker and Idris Elba. In James's caption of the photo, "Don't get too attached," smells a lot like what happened with the announcement of the Universal Monsterverse cast. Should we be scared of the announcement of a big cast before anything has been seen, or do you see this as a nod to the previous Suicide cast departure? Well, I mean, just so we all know what he's talking about. So James Gunn, one of my favorite filmmakers, right? I just love his sensibilities when it comes to making films. If you haven't seen Slither, make sure you watch Slither. Anyway, he is, of course, working on Suicide Squad 2. They just had the full cast read for everybody, and he jumped on social media to reveal the full cast. And it's a big list. So you've got Nathan Fillion, of course, his brother, Sean Gunn. Taika Waititi is in there. Viola Davis returns. Idris Elba, we've known for a while there. Margot Robbie returns. Of course, what James Gunn movie cannot have Michael Rooker in it? So Michael is there again. We've got Storm Reed from the bad movie Wrinkle in Time, but I'll tell you what, I was super impressed with that little girl in that movie. Jai Courtney is back. Joel Kinnaman, I like Joel Kinnaman as a matter of fact. Peter Capaldi is in there. The big question mark I've got is John Cena. Again, I very, very much question John Cena.
No. Yeah. How dare you?
I'm not a big John Cena fan as an actor, but hopefully this one gets him back to what he's strong at, which is like being a supporting king, using his comedic talents. Because when they try to use him in a lead, for me, it just doesn't work. And of course, in that post, what he said as the heading on that post is, "Don't get too attached." So he's asking, well, wait a minute. So is that kind of like with the Universal Monsters movie? Because the Universal's monster movies, they started announcing all these big casts and the movies never got made. That's different here. This movie is getting made. This is one movie. They're not talking about future movies. What I think, and this is just my interpretation, what I think James Gunn meant by putting up that full list and then saying, "Don't get too attached," I think that's his way of telling us people gonna die in my movie. There are people, so he's saying, don't get too attached to any of these characters because there are characters who are going to die in this movie. He's not saying which ones or anything like that. So that's how I interpret it. Rob, you see this character list. You hear James saying, "Don't get too attached." What do you think he means by that? And what do you think about the cast list overall?
Well, I think it's exactly what you said. You've got this great cast of you know, what I like about it is it's truly a bunch of character actors. You know, you've got a few A-list stars, but I've always loved when you have a big ensemble cast. You want an ensemble cast. It's you don't want people to overshadow each other. It's that ensemble that's exciting to see all the actors interact with the other actors and bring that special sauce that mixes together and creates a great souffle. And I think that's what he's doing here. And because it's Suicide Squad, all bets are off. Anybody can die at any time. Like, you just never know. And that's going to be what's so fun about this movie, is that it's going to subvert expectations. You know, nothing is going to be precious, and you really have no idea how it's going to turn out. And that's exciting. I think that's what I want out of a Suicide Squad movie, hence the title Suicide Squad.
Which is true. Aaron, you're seeing this list. You see the cast. Number one, what do you think about the cast list in and of itself? And then what do you think James meant by the whole "don't get too attached"?
John Cena is my boyfriend. John Cena is my boyfriend. By the way, did not realize that you could have a Make-A-Wish if you weren't terminal. And one of my greatest regrets about my period when I had cancer was not getting John Cena as my Make-A-Wish because he's done more Make-A-Wishes than anybody. And I was like, hello.
You know what? By the way, I said I haven't been really impressed with him as a lead actor and things. I love him in supporting roles. The dude... he is, I don't know if you've watched any documentaries on John Cena. This dude never stops doing charity work.
Yeah.
He never stops. If
he's
got a
done
free
more
moment,
Make-A-Wishes than anyone else on the planet.
Yes, he has.
And John Cena, if you're out there, all I want for my Make-A-Wish is I want to go roller skating with you. That's what I want. So when I saw this list and I saw John Cena, I was like, yes, I am in. I will go see this for John Cena. But also like just a phenomenal cast. And yeah, I immediately was like, okay, well, all these people are in the movie and that's cool. And a bunch of them are going to die. And that's even more cool. So that's clearly what the intention was behind that. And I think that what they're doing with this early release is they're saying, hey, whatever you thought about the first one, because a lot of people, had
didn't
mixed,
like the first one.
Yeah, that's true. We'll go ahead and say that. Now they're saying, you know what, we're going to come in and it's not going to be just repetition of what you saw before, just bigger and badder. It's going to be a whole new cast of people whose names you already recognize. We don't necessarily need to put their faces on the poster because I mean, you look at that list of names and you go, okay, John Cena. I look at that list and I go, oh my God, John Cena. And I feel like that's what is going to happen with a lot of people. I mean, Pete Davidson even.
That's right, yeah.
I've really enjoyed seeing Pete Davidson in a lot of his supporting roles. He was in the Motley Crue biopic, which wasn't great, but it was super fun. And he was really, he serviced that role very well. And similarly to your feelings on My Boyfriend John Cena, I feel like Pete Davidson is really good when he's in a small supporting role. He brings a really interesting, fun flavor. And by the way, one more pitch for My Boyfriend John Cena. If you haven't seen the outtakes of Sisters and Trainwreck.
Fabulous.
Sisters and Trainwreck. Mark Wahlberg. I look like I ate Mark Wahlberg. Like you gotta go watch it. If you need me, I'll be outside on Grindr. Like you gotta go see it. Just Trainwreck and Sisters, outtakes, John Cena. You're welcome.
And look, let me throw my weight behind that because when John Cena, to me, when he does smaller supporting comedic stuff, he is in his element.
Trainwreck was genius.
He is so good in Trainwreck. He is so good in Sisters. And I could see why they gave him a shot with like Blockers. I totally see why they gave him that shot.
I liked him in Blockers.
To me, I was like, you know what? To me, it was... the apple wasn't ripe to get picked off the tree yet. I think he's not quite ready yet to be the lead guy. But in the hands of a James Gunn, because look what James Gunn did with Dave Bautista. Dave Bautista, who by his own admission, and I love Dave, said, I'm not the greatest actor in the world. I'm thrilled to get these opportunities. James Gunn is a director who has proven he knows how to take a performer, hide their weaknesses, and totally accentuate what strengths they bring. And maybe in a James Gunn's hands, we could see something really specialized. So we'll have to wait and see. Question is, guys, what did you think about that whole cast list? Are you excited about it? Were you hoping to see some more names? Are you overwhelmed by the amount of names that we got? Jump on down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, with that down, let's move on to our fifth main topic today. And our fifth main topic today gets sent in to us by Wolfpack Jackson, who writes, did you happen to see that Kevin Feige revealed a new alternate post-credit scene from Iron Man from 2008 where Nick Fury mentions mutants and radioactive bug bites? Thought it was really cool that they had a scene with those in there, and even more so that they are coming to light. All right, thanks a lot for that. And I believe it was the Saturn Awards that came out. Rob, you're of course familiar with the Saturn Awards. I believe you've won one or two of those.
I have.
So you're of course familiar with that. So Kevin Feige gave this video message talking about, I believe he was pimping the Infinity Saga, like big collection release that it's going to be coming out. And a part of that Infinity Saga, he said, we're going to be including a never before seen thing that we recorded. And what it basically was, it was indeed that post-credit scene from Iron Man where Nick Fury comes out, Samuel Jackson, where he first meets Tony Stark and introduces himself as Nick Fury. Well, one of the takes of that, they showed the video footage of it, and it's just Samuel Jackson in front of a blue screen doing it. And this was the line that he gave in there. The line he said was, As if gamma accidents, radioactive bug bites, and assorted mutants weren't enough, I have to deal with a spoiled brat who doesn't play well with others and wants to keep all his toys to himself. That was the line that was used. And it's cute. It's a cute line. But from this shown footage have come a lot of articles and headlines and speculating on social media that Marvel always intended to bring Spider-Man in. They always intended. And to me, what is very clear and obvious was, no, this was a cute little Easter egg wink, tip of the hat, sort of just a cute little line. Why do you think he didn't say spider bite? He said radioactive bug bite. Now, he did say mutants, which I don't think they were allowed to say mutants, which I think, I don't know this, I'm just throwing this out. I think that's probably maybe the legal department got a hold of them at some point and said, you can't actually say mutants in there. So I don't know if that's what got that cut. But honestly, I heard that, and it's cool, and I'm glad they're releasing that as a little special feature. But honestly, Rob, I don't see this being anything more than it was a cute little eye wink reference to those who were going to be in the audience that knew that what they were referencing. I don't think it uncovers a grander plan that Marvel had. I just thought it was a cute little wink of the eye, tip of the hat. How did you interpret it?
I am 100% with you. I mean, remember when they made this, there was no MCU. They didn't know if Iron Man was even going to work the way it worked. And what they're doing is, of course, you can say anything you want in a movie. I think this was a fun nod, and if they liked this take, they could have gone with it. But remember, the world, everybody wants to look back on the world the way it is now. You have to look back at 2007 when they were making this movie, and they didn't know. I mean, Iron Man was coming out. Paramount put Iron Man out. People forget that, the world is very different, especially for the MCU, than it is today. And I think, like you said, it was just a cute, fun nod to the entire Marvel universe. And I think that's all it is. And they decided, I think cooler heads prevailed. It was too specific. You're referencing Hulk, Spider-Man, and the X-Men.
Yeah.
And it gets to the point where, like, what you're doing is, at the time, you'd be setting up an expectation with an audience that's familiar. If Iron Man was a hit, then everyone's like, oh, they're going to do X-Men, they're going to do Spider-Man, they're going to do Hulk.
11 years later, and we're seeing this, we're going, oh, that means, can you imagine how we would have reacted? Like, everybody just would have been, oh, that means Spider-Man's going to be in the next movie. You're absolutely right.
And that's why they didn't do that. They had to see if Iron Man was even going to succeed. And remember, then when they made Hulk was a Universal movie. So you had two different studios releasing these Marvel films, and Marvel didn't even go off on their own until after that. So
anyway, Aaron, you saw this. Like, number one, first of all, what do you think about the line? Do you think maybe they should have just kept it in the first place? And do you think there's any deeper meaning associated with it?
No. I think that everybody's always, people have a lot of time on their hands. No, people have a lot of time on our hands, because I'm going to include myself in that. It's fun to, develop conspiracy theories on what would have happened and where their intentions were or weren't. And as we discover a lot on this show, a lot of them are unfounded. And so I think that, it was a really cute thing to add in. A nice little, as you said, Easter egg for the fans. But I don't think there's anything more to it than that.
You know what, John? I always say to people, too, I'm like, let's say you said something when you were 10 years old. Now, when you were 21 and you were out drinking for the first time, are you going to refer back and hold yourself accountable to something you said when you were 10? Well, that's 11 years. That's where we're at with the MCU. If they had a scene with Nick Fury that they shot at the end of the production of Iron Man 1, it doesn't mean now that you're an adult and you can drink liquor that anything you said when you were 10 has any bearing on your life the way it is when you're 21.
I invite everyone to go back to your Twitter feed from 10 years ago.
Was it even on? Was it even
I don't know.
up 10 years ago?
Know. I don't know. I think it, yeah, I know. No, it was.
Facebook was.
I was at the Toronto Film Festival because Bitch Slap had gotten into Midnight Madness. We were premiering at Midnight Madness, and Julia Voth and America Olivo said blah, 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 Twitter. And I was like, what is that? And at that point, they already had hundreds of followers, which was a big deal. And they were like, oh, you got to get on this Twitter thing. And that was in 2009. So yes, it has been 10 years. And that was when I joined Twitter. And now I immediately have to go scrub everything that I wrote 10 years ago.
Anyway,
I
guys.
should probably said that first.
Yeah, talk to James Gunn about that. Anyway, okay, guys, listen, the question is, what do you think about that? Do you think they should have kept it in, or do you think it was pretty smart that they took it out? Do you think at the time there was some deeper meaning to that, or do you think, like us, it was just a tip of the cap? What do you think? Jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, with that down, let's move on to the 6th. That's right, we got 7 main topics today, guys. Let's move on to the 6th main topic today. And the 6th main topic today, I did not bring up where's our 6th main topic today? There's our 6th main topic today. And our 6th main topic today gets sent in to us from Diego Cruz, who writes, in 2002, Danny Boyle directed the iconic zombie apocalypse movie 28 Days Later, which they never call them zombies, which became one of my favorite movies of the genre. The sequel, 28 Weeks Later, was released in 2007, and both movies were well received by the public and critics. Now, the director told The Independent that a third film is in the works, with the Ex Machina filmmaker Alex Garland, who of course wrote the screenplay for the first films, who wrote the 2002 original. Do you think we will finally get a trilogy? All right, thanks for sending that in. And yes, Danny Boyle's been in the news a lot lately, not just because of all the films he is working on. He was, of course, going to be directing the new Bond film, and that famously fell apart. But anyway, talking about this series that is beloved, I believe 28 Days Later was recently ranked, I think it was IGN did like the top 20 best horror films of all time. And I think they listed that in like the top 20. But a lot of people love these 28 Days, 28 Weeks Later films. Danny Boyle was talking, and he said the following. I take with the commentary, this is coming from IndieWire, who wrote, Alex Garland and I have had a wonderful idea for the third part, Boyle said. It's properly good. The original film led to a bit of a resurgence in the zombie drama, and it doesn't reference any of that. It doesn't feel stale at all. Alex is concentrating on directing his own work at the moment, so it stood in abeyance, really. But it's you never know. So here we've got Danny Boyle now, saying, of course, Garland went on to direct not only Ex Machina, but also Annihilation, which a lot of people really like. So he's kind of seen as a director right now. But Danny Boyle is saying, and Alex Garland has made comments of these as well, they've talked and they've come up with an idea for a third film. They're not saying it's absolutely, definitely going to happen, but they are saying they've got the idea, they love the idea, and they think it'll work. Rob, understanding that while these were not really super successful movies, they were very popular amongst the people who watched them, very popular and influential. Do you think with these guys having an idea and the power and the leverage that their names bring, do you think we're going to see a 28 Months Later at some point?
You know, I would say so, because remember, these were not expensive movies to make.
That's true, yeah.
You know, I love 28 Days Later and the way they showed a devastated London. I mean, famously, they would stop traffic on Sunday mornings to get those big, wide shots. I heard, and this might be apocryphal, but I heard they hired like really hot girls to come to when they were stopping traffic, and they were the girls that were stopping the traffic like at Sunday mornings, and we're talking
it's actually a brilliant idea
in central London, and they were shooting with probably 28 cameras because they were using little tiny video cameras. It was shot on video, and they did some really brilliant things to give you some epic scale to their devastated London, and I really liked both movies. I thought 28 Weeks Later was really good too. I was surprised how good it was. And why not? I mean, zombies are still as popular as they ever were. The Walking Dead, who would have thought The Walking Dead's still on TV? And it really did bring about the zombie resurgence. I mean, I know they're not zombies. It was the rage virus that stopped. Right. But I could see it happening. And I would love to see Danny Boyle and Alex Garland team up again, especially after what Alex Garland did. I mean, writing Dread and basically directing it and making Annihilation and making Ex Machina on what Danny Boyle's made. If the two of them are going to collaborate, and if Boyle comes back to direct and Garland writes, or Garland writes and directs and Boyle produces, we're going to get something pretty cool. I'd love to see it. Bring it on. But it doesn't sound like it's like going to happen now.
Aaron, do you think there's a possibility we could get the third one, or do we even need a third one?
Well, I think that's kind of happening. I mean, he's already put the wheels in motion. Simply saying it and talking about the third part, I think that these are things that are being laid down as groundwork. This isn't what we were talking about earlier, which is a random quote that people are then spinning out of control. He's literally inviting us to the party and saying, "Hey, I'm going to have a dinner party. If I do, would any of you guys show up?" And so that's the way that I read it. I do have to say though. 28 Days Later came out 2 years after the Sandra Bullock alcoholic rehab film 28 Days.
Right.
And as you guys know, I'm usually a little late to the party when it comes to seeing movies. And I saw 28 Days Later thinking that it was the Sandra. So you can imagine my surprise as I'm waiting for Sandra Bullock to show up. And I'm like, where is she? And who are the rest of these people? Are they all drunk? What's going on? So I was very confused. I was quite happy when someone finally explained that to me. So yeah, don't make that mistake. If you haven't seen 28 Days Later, it is not about rehab.
Or maybe it's a big allegory. Maybe it's a giant
It's
allegory,
all
just
an
like
allegory.
The Boys.
Exactly.
All right, guys, question is, what do you think about Danny Boyle's comments? Do you think they indicate that, yeah, this is going to happen? Do you think it will? Do you think they should? Jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys, with that down, we got one last main topic to cover here today. And our final main topic today gets sent in to us from Rizzo, who writes, Deadline has seemingly confirmed that Robert Downey Jr. will be back as Tony Stark in the Black Widow movie in May of 2020. I knew there was a slim chance that Robert Downey Jr. could come back, but I thought of it as an unlikely scenario. Now that it's been confirmed, what are your thoughts, John Campea Show crew? Thanks. All right, so let's get some background to this. I have been saying since, Endgame came out, Robert Downey Jr. is coming back. Make no mistake about it. He's coming back. They can do he's died, and Robert Downey Jr. can make all these speeches about how it was just time to move on from the MCU. He's coming back. I'm not saying permanently coming back. I'm not even saying it'll necessarily be within the next 3 or 4 years, but he'll be back. Mark my words. Anyway, hot on the heels of that, I start getting flooded. I was out of town this weekend, and I'm checking my phone, and my phone starts getting flooded saying, Deadline has confirmed that Robert Downey Jr. is coming back for the Black Widow movie. Deadline's confirmed, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, oh my God, really? So I got home yesterday and I got on and checked it out because I'm expecting to see on all the news headlines, Robert Downey Jr. is back in the MCU. But I didn't find any. I didn't see any of these headlines. And finally I tracked it down. What was this story Deadline was writing? Talking about Robert Downey Jr. coming back. Here it is, ladies and gentlemen. The big headline was... Saturn Awards, Spider-Man star Tom Holland wins for 3rd year in a row. That's the headline. The headline isn't Robert Downey Jr. back in whatever. It's this, that, and the other thing. Now, you got to remember this, guys. We've talked about this before. This has happened once in a while with the big trades. Where, remember that one time they were writing about Ben Affleck, and in one of the final paragraphs of a story about Ben Affleck's career, they write, Ben Affleck will be seen again in Matt Reeves' Batman and blah, blah, blah. And that got everybody going, wait a minute, Ben Affleck is coming back as Batman. Why wasn't that the headline? Why isn't everybody talking about this? It was some little researcher intern probably threw that in a copy thing that was just a little bit of a slip. Here's the actual quote, which isn't even in the first paragraph. This is one of the quotes in a story about the Saturn Awards, in which Robert Downey Jr. won an award again at the Saturn Awards. This is the actual quote, and this is all it says about it. The finale installment of the Marvel big screen saga was named Best Comic to Film Release. Robert Downey Jr.'s swan song performance as Tony Stark, aka Iron Man, in Endgame earned him the Best Actor in a Film award. Downey will be seen in the role of Tony Stark one more time, however, in the Marvel prequel Black Widow in May 2020. Again, not in the headline, not the story, the other thing. It was a throwaway line in a sub-paragraph about him coming back. That raises a couple of questions. Those questions being, number one, is he coming back? I personally don't think so. Now, I'm the guy who's been saying, believe that Robert Downey Jr. is coming back. He's coming back at some point. Does that mean, but does this line in Deadline actually confirm that he's coming back? I doubt it, because again, if he was coming back, the headline of this story isn't Tom Holland wins 3rd year in a row for Best Young Actor in a Movie. That's not the headline. The headline is Robert Downey Jr. returning as Iron Man for Black. That's what the headline is. So I have a feeling this is a little factual error. This is just a little error that slipped into the story and moved on. However, Rob, that doesn't mean there's not some possibilities here. Number one, you always have to keep in mind that maybe it is possible. Maybe he is coming back. So that's one. I think the vastly most likely scenario is that no, he's not, and that's just a little error in the story. There's a third option here, and maybe a fourth and fifth, but the third option I see is that what if you know how they're doing Princess Leia in Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker? They're taking unused footage of Carrie Fisher from a previous movie that they didn't use and repurposing that footage in this movie. What if there is a possibility, I believe, that they could take maybe an unused piece of footage from previous film and use that as either a flashback scene or some sort of recycled stuff. So he's there technically, but he didn't come in and shoot scenes for, you know what I mean? But anyway, regardless of those options, or maybe there's more, how do you interpret this whole thing, Rob?
Well, I think here's from my perspective, I always thought somebody was going to make an appearance in this film because obviously it's a prequel movie. It's a spy thriller. It's basically them going full on James Bond. And remember, before Tony Stark became Iron Man, Stark Industries is a weapons manufacturer. So I thought that somehow, in the back of my mind, it's something I made it up for myself. But I just assumed somehow Stark Industries would play into the plot of Black Widow. Somehow, maybe there's a weapons, something to do with something gets stolen, some kind of technology. So I thought that Tony Stark would appear in this film pre-Iron Man as he gives her a briefing or there's some kind of thing given about this. I don't know. I also assumed that Fury would appear in this movie as well. Now, I don't know if that's been confirmed or not, but it seems logical to me. And I'm sure, Robert Downey Jr. has been doing this for 10 years. He's made a lot of money. And whether it's part of his contract or not, he's a team player. He likes his fellow actors. I'm sure if Scarlett Johansson said, hey, Brock, can you come in for maybe a day and do a cameo? I don't think Robert Downey Jr. would be aloof and say, no.
Yeah,
I think he'll be in it.
One of the coolest videos I've seen in a long time. If you want to talk about how tight the main cast for the Avengers are, the original Avengers. Do you guys ever see that YouTube video where the original Avengers, Jeremy Renner, Scarlett Johansson, Chris Evans, Robert Downey Jr., Chris Hemsworth, they all got together and went out and got on their forearm the Avengers logo tattoo together, which I thought was, and then they gave the same tattoo. They gave the tattoo to the artist, which I don't think went as well. But you know what?
They actually
yep,
did.
They grabbed the pen and gave. And you know what? If I'm
that's
that
a very
artist,
trusting tattoo artist.
But if I'm that artist, I'm like,
Sure.
forever, I can say Robert Downey Jr., Scarlett Johansson, Chris Hemsworth, they gave me, and it doesn't matter how brutal it was.
Sure.
It'd be like they gave. That'd be awesome. But, so that goes to your point, Robert. Aaron, everything is so fluid in Hollywood. What is true one day may not be true the next. Do you think Robert Downey Jr. may actually appear in this movie? Do you think he won't? Or do you think maybe they'll use some old footage? How do you see this playing out?
Yeah, I'm with Rob. I kind of always had it in my head that he's gonna be, he's such a central figure to the MCU that when I hear, oh, Tony Stark is no longer and Robert Downey Jr. is not, I go, oh, he's not going to do another standalone film. He's not going to do another Avengers film where he has to dedicate 3 to 9 months of his life in a bunch of foreign countries. He's going to focus on other things. But I always assumed that he would come back for a day here, a week there, and they could very easily, as Rob was saying, have him on a video screen that, Black Widow is watching, or there's a hologram of him, or he comes in as, Tony Stark because of his industrial whatever. And being that it is a prequel, and obviously because Black Widow is now dead, and we're going back, there's no reason why he wouldn't be a part of it. I just feel like there's, in any of these standalone films that happen that come out even after Black Widow, whatever films are lined up, I feel like there's always going to have to be certain characters from this universe that has been so integrated into itself. There's got to be that crossover, and I wouldn't be surprised, you're right, if Nick Fury shows up or anybody else. So yeah, this isn't surprising, and I don't think that anybody else should really be surprised either. But don't get butthurt if you don't see him for more than one scene. So
right,
if he's in more than one scene, then I'll be shocked. But one scene, yeah, I think we can just assume that it's a given that we'll see him.
I'm leaning towards the fact that I don't think we're going to see him at all. But there are a lot of possibilities here. And so I wanted to put that to you guys. And that's why we've made this the topic of today's question of the day. The question of the day today, which you can go over and answer on my Twitter. You can just go to my Twitter, simply there at John Campea. This is the question of the day. This is the top post right now. The John Campea Show question of the day, with Deadline claiming Robert Downey Jr. is returning for the Black Widow movie. Do you think he'll actually be in it? We discuss this and more. Right now, we put this up just before the show started. Nearly 1,500 of you guys have voted already. 34% of you are saying, yeah, he's going to be in it. 20% of you guys are saying, no, he won't. And 47% of you saying, yeah, he'll be in it, but it'll just be recycled old footage, sort of an idea. Those are the three options I put there, but there might even be more options than that. So guys, jump on over there, register your vote, and then jump down to the comment section below and let us know what you think of this story. Do you think it was just a factual error? Do you think he will be there? Do you think maybe it'll just be old footage? Jump down to the comment section below and let us know what you guys think. All right. With that down and out of the way, guys, we're going to go on and take some live questions. But before we do, we're going to take a short 3.5 minute break. Give us a chance to rest the vocal cords, stretch our legs, refill our drinks, all that sort of stuff. So if you guys will hang with us and indulge us for just a couple of minutes, we're going to take a break and be right back. Hang tight. We'll see you in just a couple of minutes. And we are back. Thank you guys for your indulgence as we took a few minutes to take a break here. Now let's go on and talk about things you guys want to talk about. Probably going to bring up some of the stuff we already talked about, some other things that are new too. So let's not waste any time and jump right into it. All right. First live question we're getting to comes to us from MP, who writes, Spider-Man's suit is Stark tech. Would Disney mind if Sony kept it? And if Happy had a cameo to help transition the story into the Sony Spider-Man? Never gonna happen. Never gonna happen. Nope. Disney and Sony are not working together. They will not let each other use each other's stuff, all that kind of stuff. They're going to try to make it as clear as possible. These are now two separate universes. I expect, thank God, to see Spider-Man in a legitimate Spider-Man suit now, and not some frickin' Spider-Man Jr. outfit that I've never wanted to see in the first place. Anyway, Rob.
It's like underoos.
Yes, it's the RoboCop suit. Anyway, do you think there's any chance that we can see Happy Hogan cameoing, or them saying, like, lending some story points to transition it over? Or do you think they'll just make a clean break?
I think it's going to be a clean break. And like you said, look, didn't I say on the show I wanted the next Spider-Man movie to be called Home Front, where the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man comes back home to his neighborhood, because what's got to happen becomes it's his neighborhood that's at stake now, and it's easy to do. He makes himself a new spider suit. That's it. Done.
Go back to when he had before. What do you think about that, Aaron? Do you think it's going to be? Do you think there'll be some borrowed elements? Do you think they're just going to make a clean break?
Oh, clean break. New suit.
New suit. I'm all for it. All right. Next up, MP also writes, imagine if we had Spider-Man Mask of the Phantasm. A little crossover of different storylines there. MP also writes, should Marvel Studios make the most awesome water cooler 1990s Spider-Man animated series for Disney Plus, Daily Bugle, cool story arc similar to Batman the animated series? Well, that is certainly an option. Look, without knowing all the intricacies of the deal between them and what the license does allow Sony and Disney to do and what it doesn't, I've always understood that Disney has the right to make animated Spider-Man stuff. They can't do live action, so I would not fall over in shock if they made a Spider-Man animated series. What they could not do is make a Spider-Man animated series that purported to be the same Spider-Man that we saw in the MCU, because that character is not. It would have to be its own individual standalone universe, separate from the MCU. But I believe they can do that. Rob, do you think that's something they should pursue?
Probably. Why not? I mean, they're going to put so many animated series on Disney Plus.
I think that they'll do it, not just because they'll make money on it, but also they'll do it just to stick it to Sony.
Yeah, maybe. Okay, next up, Gino Hendricks writes, I confirm 90s X-Men Spidey on Disney Plus. We talked about that the other day. The classic X-Men cartoon series is on Disney Plus, as well as the old Spidey stuff, which we talked about the other day. For those of you asking, wait a second, wait, what? Disney Plus is up? No. They've launched a test version of it in the Netherlands. None of the original programming, so they're not watching Mandalorian before us, but a lot of the library stuff is up there and they're testing it, which sounds great. Ethan's Tech World writes, John, A-list is mine. Finally, Ad Astra, which is amazing. Congratulations. A-list, again, I think is the greatest thing to ever happen to film fandom. If you don't live near an AMC and you live near Regal Unlimited is a good option for you too. Enjoy Ad Astra, my friend. Or use it before then. Go see a movie tonight. You got A-list. Go use it, man. All right, Christopher Chow writes, hey, John, saw vids of users in the Netherlands trying out Disney Plus, and it looks awesome. Excited for it to launch in Canada. Do you think Canadians will eventually get access to the bundle with ESPN and Hulu? The answer to that question is nope. No, you're not going to get Hulu and you're not going to get ESPN. That would violate territorial rights. TSN, SportsCenter, they have those rights. They're going to be there. And there's a version, it's not the same company. There's a company that's like Hulu that's in Canada. It's where Letterkenny is broadcast on. I'm trying to remember the name of it, but they can't be in Canada. So no, Canada will not, as far as I know, will not have the ESPN bundle and Hulu. Guys, do you guys know anything about that as far as territory? Like, could since ESPN and Hulu can't be in Canada, if they were bundled as a part of a package of a different network that is in Canada, could they do it? I don't think they can. Do you guys know anything about that?
Nothing.
Yeah. So I'm going to guess no.
I mean, unless there was maybe a license agreement where there was some company that was allowed to be in Canada and Hulu was like, Hulu presented by blah, blah, blah. That is way over my pay grade.
Yeah, because here's the thing. Those other, like, there are Hulu shows that are licensed in Canada by other networks. if Hulu were now in Canada showing those shows,
they would
Canada,
have to take away the licenses from the other companies.
Exactly, that gets
so that
messy.
might be something that happens not immediately, but down the line, that Disney is working on releasing, getting rid of those agreements that they have with those other companies. And as those contracts fall away, eventually Disney's able to have
Except I don't think the Canadian broadcast ministry will allow that to happen. I think it's like, no, you want to show those shows in Canada, it's got to be on Canadian networks. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how that works out, though. But don't expect that. Don't expect that, especially not out of the thing. Maybe later down the line something gets worked out, but don't expect that out of the gate. All right, Luke1234 writes, over under 8%. One of the next 5 Batman films will be a live-action Mask of the Phantasm. No, I don't think they're going to do that. They're going to let that just be its own thing. I'm going to go even under 8. I won't say 0, but I'll go under 8. Rob, over under 8% that we could see a live-action Mask of the Phantasm.
Under 8. I want to see something new. So do they.
What do you think, Aaron?
no opinion.
All right. Next up, Sifi writes, where are we at here? Sifi, top 5 out of 30 films I saw at TIFF. Wow. 5, Waves. 4, Jojo Rabbit. 3, Knives Out. 2, Parasite. And 1, Marriage Story. These are all films we're hearing getting rave reviews. Again, the last time I checked, let me bring it up here just quickly. I just want to see if Knives Out is still sitting at 100%. Knives Out. It was sitting at 100%, and that was only with like 31 reviews. Now there are 53 reviews. Still at 100%.
Wow.
You know what that means, John?
Nothing. But
That means Rian Johnson's new Star Wars trilogy is just about secured.
Well, I you know what? I don't think he's still doing it. I think this is a Ben Affleck situation all over again. I think he's already off the project. I don't think he's going back, and I just think they're waiting to make that announcement because right now they're going to put all the attention. But maybe you're right. Hey, look, Knives Out gets nominated for Best Picture at the Academy Awards. They'll let him do whatever he wants to do.
You make $1 billion movie and then your follow-up is a critically acclaimed darling.
Yeah, an Oscar contender. Yeah, might be. All right, Sifi writes, Marriage Story is the best film I've seen in years. Hilarious and soul-crushing with phenomenal performances. I can guarantee a Best Picture nod. And you know what, Sifi? After finding out that it's the runner-up at the Toronto International Film Festival, your guarantee might not be misplaced. I mean, I'm not quite sure when it launches on Netflix. I think it is really soon. But yeah, it got the runner-up there. Of course, the acclaimed film Parasite got 3rd. That's one that's getting a lot of Oscar consideration right now. Easily probably going to win the best foreign film, but it'll definitely be nominated for foreign film. So that could be it. Do you guys have any idea when that movie launches on Netflix? I don't know off the top of my head.
I don't know, and Netflix definitely isn't going to tell us because they don't do any marketing of their own projects.
It's true. You find out Punisher Season 2 drops in 3 days, everybody. It's like, what? You get 3 days notice. It's true. That's kind of how they do it.
Also, I have to say, super impressive seeing 30 films at that festival. Good for you, Sifi or Sci-Fi or whatever your name is.
Yeah, when you can go to these festivals, if you can take in a lot, take advantage of it, especially if you buy one of those premium VIP passes.
Yeah.
Go take advantage of that. Good on you. All right, Nick writes, hey, John, hope you had a good weekend and your out-of-town trip went well. It did go well. Thank you very much. Missed your open mic video on Sunday. Everything all right? So we were going to do an open mic on Sunday. I even got the live stream. I posted the live stream event, announcing it's coming in 7 hours. Unfortunately, Saturday I started to feel a little bit under the weather. And I'm not going to lie to you. Right now, I feel pretty crappy. Oh. But, the show must go on. And so I get the adrenaline starts pumping. So that's good. But I'm not in good shape right now, to be honest.
Sorry, boo.
Me too, babe. Anyway, I started feeling under the weather. And then yesterday I thought, it's okay. The Patriots game's on at 10 a.m. I was going to do open mic at 3 p.m. I said, I'll just relax. I'm not going to talk. I'm going to, have some snacks. I'm going to watch my Patriots play, and I'll be good to go. But then around 1 o'clock in the afternoon, I'm like, I am not good to go. And so I had to cancel the show. But listen, thank you for bringing that up, because by 1 o'clock, a lot of people had already sent in super chat questions for that show, and I couldn't do it. I want everybody to know I gathered up all those questions that got sent in, and Mr. Robert Meyer Burnett is actually going to be doing a companion video for us later today that'll be addressing the leftover questions from Friday that obviously I couldn't do yesterday, and yesterday so Robert's going to be addressing those ones, which is great because sometimes people send in questions specifically for Robert or Aaron or Chris after they already leave. It's like, well, they're not here anymore, and if there's any of those now, you'll actually be able to answer them, Robert.
I'm looking forward to it. I haven't done a companion video since Captain Marvel that took me forever.
So keep your eyes open for that, guys. So I'm glad you brought that up, Nick. Thank you for asking. And I'm fine. I'm fine. I think I just realized I got surprised during the break. I went into my bedroom to wipe my glasses down. And my wife was in there. She's been gone all week because she's been in Orlando. I didn't think she was coming back till later tonight, and she was actually home when I went in there. So I'm just going to cuddle up with Ann.
And she's in cosplay.
and she's in cosplay. That's just like my dream come true. All right, let's move on here. Nathan Oswald writes, birthdays today. Nick Jonas is 27. Really? 27? Amy Poehler, 48. I love Amy Poehler. Molly Shannon is 55. I love her. Jennifer Tilly is 61. One of the best... She's a great poker player, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
Like world-class poker player. David Copperfield, 63. Kurt Fuller, 66. And Mickey Rourke is 67 years old today. Thank you again, Nathan, for sharing the celebrity birthdays.
Time for another viewing of 9.5 Weeks.
I was just going to say that. He will always be my 9.5 weeks. I refuse to watch anything he's done in the last 10 years because I only want to remember him as 9.5 weeks.
The coolest.
Let's see.
Diner.
Oh, yeah, Diner. He was really good in Diner.
So good.
All right, M. Dorcher writes, have you guys seen old film M, 1931 by Fritz Lang? I have not.
Rob has it on Laserdisc and Blu-ray.
And
Well, what's
VHS.
funny
VHS
about
and
that
beta.
is you actually are correct. I have owned M on Laserdisc, on DVD, and on Blu-ray.
You're kidding.
Of that.
I'm not.
And
Not kidding.
And look at me. This is my not surprised face. Not surprised at all.
By the way, can I just say that my boys Criterion, in our 3-minute break, I looked at my email, and Criterion announced their December titles, and they are releasing the 287-minute version of Wim Wenders' Until the End of the World.
How long?
287 minutes. And I love Until the End of the World, but this is the long 5-hour version. And bruh, let me just tell you, Christmas came early today, and it's going to come in the Burnett household. It's going to come, well, Christmas will come at Christmas, but I'm going to get that, and God bless
That's
Criterion.
when Aaron would need 3
I
intermissions.
was going to say, I was literally doing the math. That's 3 bathroom breaks.
Yep, 3 intermissions in that one. All right,
287 minutes.
Nick writes, one of two. Just in case you missed my email yesterday, my guess is Iron Man in Black Widow is probably just archived Civil War footage or deleted scenes. I doubt Robert Downey Jr. came back to shoot new scenes as Iron Man, given that he said he wasn't interested in doing so, at least in the near future. True, but I mean, it like Aaron was pointing out, it doesn't take much just to say, hey, can you come by the studio for 3 hours tomorrow? And I'll cut you a check for $120,000.
Great, I'll put a new deck in the back house.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
And then remember, when did Black Widow first show up? In Iron Man 2. So...
And I think it would actually be fun. You know, if you can... there's so much pressure on Robert Downey Jr. when he's doing a standalone film or Avengers movie. It might be kind of fun for him to just go, I'm just going to put on the suit for a day or two, dick around for a little bit and know that it's not on me. Like the movie's success or failure has nothing to do with me. I'm just here to play and collect a paycheck.
And you know what? Somebody suggested to me the other day, a lot of people were saying, hey, maybe Deadpool should be the new Stan Lee cameo, since Stan Lee can't do cameos. And to me, that's disrespectful. They did it because it's Stan Lee. He's the only one you do that for. But somebody suggested to me the other day, what about Robert Downey Jr. Popping up as a quick little thing as Tony Stark in a quick cameo? Either it's a video phone call, or they're seeing news footage of him on the thing. That becomes appropriate. I mean, really, spiritually, Tony Stark's the one that kicked off the MCU. So maybe there's something to that, but we'll have to see. Because again, there could be a big difference, like Aaron pointed out, between going and committing 2 months of shooting somewhere on set versus, hey, roll in for a couple hours. We'll give you lunch, cut you a check for $100,000, and just be on set for a couple hours. There's a difference between that, and he might be down for that. I don't think that's what's happening with Black Widow myself, but we'll have to wait and see. All right, The Mandalorian of Gondor writes, did you hear the rumor of Marvel developing a Silver Surfer film? Yeah, you can throw that away. Makes sense to do before Fantastic Four, and Feige did want him and Galactus exchange for Fox, keeping DD. Again, throw that away. Again, always, guys, when you see those stories, track it to where it came from. I'm not saying what website did you read it on. I'm saying look at the website and look where they got it from, and then go back to the originating source. Again, nothing is impossible. Let's be clear on that. Nothing's impossible, but I don't believe that one for a second. Not that that won't ever happen, It will eventually, but that right now, no, I don't buy it. Greg Volt writes, my top 7 list. 1, The Departed. Love The Departed. Based on one of my all-time favorite films. My absolute number 1 all-time favorite cop film is Infernal Affairs, which is The Departed is a remake of. Number 2, The Shawshank Redemption. Love it. 3, Butterfly Effect. I don't even like that movie, but I'm finding more and more people love that movie. I didn't
Ashton
even like
Kutcher
it.
film?
Yeah. 4, Apocalypto, brilliantly directed. 5, American History X, so good. It introduced us all to the term Kirby. Number 6, My Sister's Keeper, really good. Not Courtney Cox. She was in Mask. Cameron Diaz. Cameron Diaz film, My Sister's Keeper, really, really nice little film. And 7, Brie Larson's Room. Nice list. Again, a lot of mixed up stuff in there. I enjoy that, dude. All right, Karam Majub writes, favorite film, Star Wars trilogy, Lord of the Rings trilogy, The Godfather trilogy, Edge of Tomorrow, which we were just talked about Edge of Tomorrow the other day, 300, Sin City, Inglourious Bastards, Oscar. Oh, somebody put Oscar on the list. That makes me a happy man that somebody put Oscar on the list.
I don't know what Oscar is.
Stallone
We'll talk about that in a second. Yeah, Mary and Max, 7, Schindler's List, Birdman, and Troy. That should make you happy, Rob. The Troy's on there.
Interesting.
Oscar, Aaron, let me have the privilege of
Please.
introducing you to the joy that is Oscar. This is one of my top 20 favorite comedies of all time.
Oh my God.
It is so brilliant. What it is Sylvester Stallone is set in the 20s or 30s, something like that.
Okay.
He plays a mob boss named Snaps Provolone. And on his father's deathbed, who I believe was Charlton Heston. No, it was Kirk Douglas. It was Kirk Douglas. In just the opening scene of the movie, plays his dying father. And his last wish to his son, Sylvester Stallone, is become an honest man. Go straight. Like, go into legitimate business. So that happens, and then it picks up like 9 months later, 10 months later, where it's the day, and the whole movie happens in one day, and it's basically a one-location movie. It all happens in this house, 1 or 2 scenes outside of the house, but basically it all happens in one day in one house. Marissa Tomei is in it. She plays his daughter. She's hilarious in it, and it's just all this wacky. It reminds me of a stage play.
Marissa Tomei plays Sylvester Stallone's daughter.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's called Oscar. I love it.
All
I
right.
absolutely, passionately love it.
Wow. Okay. Well, we'll have to
Finucci's.
check it out.
I love it. Rob, you clearly don't share my passion for Oscar.
Wow.
Well, perhaps I need to watch it again. Let's just say
love
I
it.
didn't feel, I don't have the same, like Vader explains at the beginning of Return of the Jedi, I do not have the same optimistic appraisal of the situation of Oscar that you do.
Yeah, I love that film. Unabashedly love it. I'm so glad you mentioned it, Karam. Thank you so much. All right. Kick It to the King writes, if you play Spider-Man PS4, you can easily show that Peter has a new suit he made in Spider-Man 3 with Shutter Eyes, etc., and not be Stark's suit. But remember, though, the Spider-Man in Spider-Man, the video game, is not the Spider-Man of the MCU. So that's a totally separate thing. You got to keep that in mind, Kick It to the King. That's not supposed to be the same Spider-Man. That's not Tom Holland. It's a totally different reality of Spider-Man. So there's really no connection there at all. Kick It to the King follows up. Over under 40%. If Sony Disney split stays in place, Sony casts Vincent D'Onofrio as Kingpin, not the Netflix version, i.e. like they did with J.K. Simmons, but different version. 0. Absolute 0. You're not. That's just confusing. There's no point in going out and getting Vincent D'Onofrio to play Kingpin if he's not playing the Kingpin he already played. With the J.K. Simmons thing, it was for a fun little post-credit scene surprise. That was great, but it wasn't substantive, you know? Doing something like that, I think, is absolutely out of the question. It would be a really dumb thing to do. So I'm going to go, I never say 0, but I'm going to say 0 on that one. Rob, what do you think?
I think probably 0 too. I don't think so.
Aaron, do you think there's any chance Vincent D'Onofrio could be Kingpin in the new Sony Spider-Man movies?
No, I agree. It's confusing.
By the way, how good? Like, I will often say,
So good.
there
dude.
are few actors in comic book movies that you say were like born to play that role. And Chris Evans is one of my favorites, but I don't even put him on that list. Like, he's great as Captain America. It's not like he was born. Robert Downey Jr. was born to play Iron Man. I feel like Hugh Jackman was born to play Wolverine. I feel like Ryan Reynolds was born to play Deadpool. And I'm almost willing to go that Vincent D'Onofrio was born to play Kingpin. I mean, I just like him as a
Did you
character that much.
see on the Saturn Awards that Vincent D'Onofrio, they gave Jeff Loeb an award? Jeff Loeb, who did all the Marvel shows for Netflix, and Vincent D'Onofrio flew in to personally present the award to Jeff Loeb.
I did not see that.
And said and talked about how much he cared about Jeff Loeb and what their friendship had meant and the role of Kingpin meant to him. I thought that was a really classy stand-up thing to do.
Actually, I didn't see anything on the Saturn Awards, but I might have to go back and watch it just for that clip. All right, just a couple more while these guys are here. Andres Martinez writes, "Happy birthday to Scooby-Doo. Turns 50 years old." I didn't even realize that. Oh my gosh, no wonder they're talking about making more Scooby-Doo stuff. Monty P. Moneybags writes, "Your favorite Margot Robbie film?" Oh, that's easy for me. That's Wolf of Wall Street.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I, Tonya.
So good. I, Tonya is so good.
I mean, yes, Margot Robbie's wonderful in Wolf of Wall Street. But as far as her as an actress and her range and...
My favorite performance of hers is I, Tonya. That's my favorite performance
but
of hers.
I don't think I've ever seen an actress look as, dare I say it, delicious as she looks in Wolf of Wall Street.
Oh, no. I mean, you look. You had to not only...
Plus that accent.
Oh, yeah.
She nailed that accent.
Oh, absolutely she did. Here's the funny thing. I always tell people, like, as a Canadian who moved to Hollywood, they're gorgeous people, like drop-dead, stupidly gorgeous people, I could step outside. This is the analogy I always. I could step outside, throw a quarter, and it's going to hit 7 of them before it hits the ground. I mean, that's just what it is.
You
in
could
LA.
look left 45 degrees, or you're sitting right now.
Yeah, and there you go. It's true. But I mean, just in LA, that's nothing special. The ability to play that, though, and to play a character and play a role, that is what's different. Because there's a lot of gorgeous people in this town. Mm-hmm. Margot Robbie. It's one thing to put somebody who's really gorgeous, male or female, on camera and say, oh, look, there's a gorgeous person. But to play that in such a way that you got to convince the world that the Leonardo DiCaprio millionaire character can't imagine life without that person. I mean, she plays it so seductively that it's like, yeah, the King of France would have given up the throne for that woman in that movie, and that's the way she played it, and
but
she's amazing in it.
I like what you're saying, because I was a little like, I don't know if I like the way this is going, because it was very funny that the question is favorite, Margot Robbie. I don't even know what the question was. Performance
Margot
or
Robbie
was it
movie? Movie.
Okay, yeah. All right, but it's really funny that like immediately the woman goes, "Oh, I, Tonya," and the guys go, "Oh, definitely Wolf of Wall Street." Like I thought that was very funny the way that But here's the thing. I love what you're saying, because you're absolutely right. And if you go back to Romeo and Juliet, Juliet was never necessarily supposed to be played by a beautiful girl. She was always supposed to be a beautiful girl in Romeo's eyes. So yes, Margot Robbie is stunning on her own, but it's not even just her physical appeal, it's her performance. And also, to give credit to Leonardo DiCaprio, you can't play the king. Everyone around you has to play that you're the king.
Right.
So we not only see Margot Robbie as an actress, her individual beauty, but we see the character's beauty by the way that Leonardo DiCaprio and everyone else, by the way that he looks at her and the way that she's described. So
plus I didn't know she was Australian.
That's the thing. A lot of people did. I just had somebody write in the other day saying again, hey, I just heard Christian Bale doing an interview. I didn't know he wasn't American. I mean, that's there. So I would say my favorite performance by Margot Robbie is I, Tonya. I think my favorite Margot Robbie movie that she's a key player in is still probably The Wolf of Wall Street for me. But if you
I just love that movie.
If you haven't seen I, Tonya.
Well, and so far, because I have to say, I really am excited about her in the Barbie movie. I just think that's going to be a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to it.
See, I was really interested in the Barbie movie. When the Barbie movie idea first surfaced, the idea was that was it Rebel Wilson? It might have been Rebel Wilson or no, Trainwreck.
Amy Schumer.
Amy Schumer was going to star in a Barbie movie and the notion of it at first, I remember we covered this story. This is going back a couple of years, where the initial story was going to be Barbie. She lives in a Barbie world, but you have to have absolute physical perfection to live in that world, and because she was no longer the embodiment of physical perfection, she gets kicked out of Barbie world. and is now in the real world, and it's played by her. And I thought, you know what? That's a fascinating idea. Then that clearly changed because a year later, now they're looking at doing a Barbie movie with Anne Hathaway, who I love Anne Hathaway. So I was, okay, sure. Clearly that's not the same premise anymore, blah, 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 blah. And then later, of course, came the Margot Robbie thing. So it's going to be interesting to see what kind of take they go on that. Remember, Margot Robbie is getting her hands involved in some really interesting projects, from a Barbie project, Tank Girl, we talked about the other day. It looks like her production company's doing that. I still don't know what I think about this whole Birds of Prey movie, but we'll have to wait and see. All right, final question we're going to ask here with you guys here is, Comic Book Cast, who says Sony can't use this version of Spider-Man going forward. It will be a reboot with Tom Holland as Spidey, with MCU, Ned, and MJ, etc. gone. Explain why this is totally wrong. Well, I mean, look, first of all, you have to understand that those movies are Sony's movies. Homecoming, this is why Sony was never going to let Disney become a co-financer of these movies, because then they don't totally own them.
Yep.
Sony owns Homecoming. They own Far From Home. Those are their movies. And anything that gets introduced in those movies is theirs. That includes MJ, and that includes Jacob Bartolone as Ned. That belongs to them. They own it. It doesn't matter that Marvel was the production company on it. The reason Sony was never going to let Disney get a co-financing, because this is the thing. Most people saying, well, why doesn't Sony want to if Disney wants to pitch in and help pay for it, isn't that great? No, that's the deal breaker, because they let Disney start to pay for it and help them pay for it. Now who owns what becomes a question mark. As long as Sony was paying for everything and putting up all the money for it, they owned it. It's theirs.
It ain't show friends, it's show business.
It's show biz. And that doesn't include existing MCU characters that are brought in to be used in the film, but anything that's introduced, that belongs to Sony. Now, where I believe they're right is that you have to now pretend, you can move forward now with this story, but you got to pretend that everything that happened before that involved anything MCU related does not exist. So you can have Tom Holland and his relationship with MJ, and you can talk about where that's at and the existing relationship with Ned and all that kind of stuff. But you can't mention anything about Tony Stark. You can't mention Happy. You could have Aunt May say, yeah, remember that guy I was dating? You could say that, but you can't say Happy. You can't do that. So that's where the challenge is going to come. That's where the challenge would come. But those movies are owned by Sony. They're their films. So I don't know, Rob, how would you answer that?
Well, I think that's exactly right. And this obsession, Sony made 5 previous Spider-Man movies. They're going to be fine. They're going to make a Spider-Man movie with Tom Holland. It's probably going to be pretty great. And, it's just like in your life, every day that goes by, you don't mention everything that ever happened to you. You don't mention every person you've ever known. You'll have adventures in your own life that might last a week or 2, and they have nothing to do with what happened the week before. And that's what's going to happen to Spider-Man. He's going to have something new that's going to happen to him, and we're going to focus on that.
And it'll be its own new world.
Yes,
and they
absolutely.
won't mention anything that happened in the MCU.
And the good thing is he'll finally stop being Baby Iron Man.
Yes. See that? Now look, I wanted them to make the deal. I wanted Sony and Disney to continue to work together. But if they're not going to, my one giant silver lining is we get to see Spider-Man be Spider-Man. Mm-hmm. And I'm very excited about that. I'm personally very, very excited about that. Okay, listen, guys. We have kept Aaron and Robert here long enough. I know both of these guys, they're actresses, writers, directors, editors, all this kind of stuff. They got busy things they got to do. So I want to thank these guys both for being here today. Rob, first of all, thanks a lot for being here again, man. Where can people find you online, sir?
You can find me on Twitter at BurnettRM. Find me on Instagram at RMBurnett, or on my own YouTube channel, The Burnettwork, and its adjacent website, theburnettwork.net.
And, of course, the wonderful Erin Cummings, who you can see in her new show that she's a part of called All Rise on CBS, coming next week. By the way,
a week from today.
Yesterday, I saw my first commercial for it that you're actually in. I'm like, Aaron's in this commercial.
I'm in all the commercials.
I didn't. No, the one I
You
saw.
blink
before
and you miss me in some of them, but
I
you'll,
didn't see one with you.
Wash of blonde hair. There I am.
But I was watching football yesterday. It's like, and Soul was over. Was like, there's Aaron. Aaron's in that commercial. We were
Was it
so
the
excited.
Patriots game?
It was during the Patriots game.
Oh,
Yes.
hell yeah. Okay.
So where can people find you, Aaron?
You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Aaron L. Cummings, and you can also listen to my voice on my podcast, Kappa Kappa Cancer.
All right. Well, thank you so much, both of you guys, for being here. And now we are going to continue on going with your live questions. We got some more time here, so let's just keep rolling through your guys' questions. All right. We're going to get things started here with Alyssa Rodriguez, who writes, my favorite Queen song is Radio Gaga. What's yours? I mean, at the total risk of sounding stereotypical, it's Bohemian Rhapsody. I mean, that's it. But there's a number of great songs. You know what's funny? Watching the Queen movie, you're like, oh yeah, they did that one too. I mean, another one, Bites the Dust. We Are the Champions, on and on. But I gotta go. Stereotypical, I know, but I'm gonna say Bohemian Rhapsody. Matt Savjada writes, theater pet peeve, that glowing exit sign in my eye line. Oh, theater going pet peeve. Oh. Yeah, you know what? There are some theaters. Unfortunately, the theaters I go to, that's not really a problem. I mean, first of all, that's a law. Right? It's just a law. There's nothing movie theaters can do about that. When you're getting an assembly area, you have to have clearly lit and illuminated. As a matter of fact, back in my AMC days, when we built our new studio, we actually had a city fire inspector come in. And one of the things they said, you don't have properly illuminated exit sign lights above the exit side of the room. It's a fire regulation, blah, 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 blah. And we had to do some rewiring and we had to do a number of things to meet fire code. I still remember, it was funny. I was on vacation. And I get this panicked phone call from, I believe at the time it was Dennis and Mark Ellis. And they called me in a panic. And soon I was sharing the panic. Because I'm like, what's going on? And they're like, hey, just out of nowhere, a fire inspector dropped by. And they told us we violated all these different regulations and given us all this stuff we got to do. What do we do? What do we do? I'm like, oh, crap. I don't know what we do. Anyway, we had to go through this whole rigmarole. And we got it all set. And we got it all fixed up. But yeah, that is unfortunately something that theaters can't avoid. I mean, that's just law. So it is unfortunate, though. Give Luigi a Ring writes, my top 10 in no particular order: Goodfellas, nice. Gladiator, Snatch, love Snatch. Shawshank Redemption, Step Brothers. Probably it is in my top 4. Step Brothers is in my top 4 all-time favorite comedies. Anyway, Infinity War, Leon the Professional, Toy Story 1, The Fifth Element. I'm surprised. I don't think we've seen The Fifth Element on a list here already. And Apollo 13. That's another one I don't think's been on any list. Anyway, nice list there, Luigi. Nice mixture. Goodfellas, Shawshank. Then got something like a little sci-fi element with Fifth Element. Very nice, sir. All right. Akash Telly writes, hey guys, are you watching Succession? Thank you. You know what? I watched episode 1. That's the Brian Cox show on HBO. I saw episode 1 and I didn't love it, but I thought, okay, this is all right. This is all right. But I never did get around to watching episode 2, and that's months ago. That I watched episode 1 and I never got around to episode 2. I think one of these days I'll pick it back up because I'm hearing great things about it. So I might get on that again. Lucas Wilson writes, hey, John and crew. Question from my 13-year-old sister, Amelia. Hi, John. Do you think we will see a Spider-Verse sequel? Well, first of all, Amelia, thank you for watching the show. And thank you, Lucas, for sending that question for her. Yes. I absolutely do. As a matter of fact, the producers of the film and the studio talked a long time ago about how they're already in process of doing the pre-production on it. They're gathering it all together. I expect to hear a formal announcement about a Spider-Verse sequel probably before the end of the year. Before the end of the year, I think we're going to get an official Spider-Verse sequel announcement. So yeah, absolutely. When you make a movie that's that good, again, in my opinion, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse is the best Spider-Man movie ever made. And one of the top comic book movies of all time. That movie is simply remarkable. And I'm the idiot who said, this is a stupid idea. I don't even, the animation looks dumb. I'm not kidding. After the first trailer I saw, for you guys remember, I didn't even like the animation style. I was like, I don't see the point of this. Why make this movie? That looks stupid. And then I went to go see it and I'm like, holy crap. And I was blown away by that movie. It continues to be one of my favorites. And yes, they are going to make a sequel. We just haven't got the official announcement yet, but I expect it before the end of the year. War Machine Rocks writes, happy birthday, Amy Winehouse. She would have been 36 years old. You know what's funny? Well, I'm not really plugged into the music industry. I haven't been since the 80s, to be honest with you, when I was a kid, and playing in bands. I haven't really been plugged into the music. I couldn't tell you. Obviously, I know who Amy Winehouse is. I couldn't tell you one of her songs. True story. I could not tell you one of her songs. I know they made a great documentary about her, but really I couldn't. All right, Patrick Finch writes, my top 10s. She's out of my league. That's funny. That I never would have expected. I don't mind that film. It's certainly got a few laughs in it, but I never expect to see that in there. Good on you for putting that on your list, man. 9, 12 Angry Men. 8, Rear Window. Nice. 7, Monty Python and the Quest for the Holy Grail. Bravely Ran. By the way, for any of you who ever watch my play-in chats, particularly when I play World of Warcraft, I will often break out in song. Whenever I'm in World of Warcraft and I get into a situation that I can't handle and I need to turn tail and retreat, I don't even consciously realize I'm doing it. I start to sing the Sir Robin song. When danger reared its ugly head, Sir Robin bravely turned and fled. Brave, 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 brave Sir Robin. That's what I do. I start running away and go, brave, 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 brave Sir Robin, as I'm running away. That's what I do. Anyway, number 6, Robin and the Seven Hoods. I can't remember what that one is off the top of my head, to be honest. 5, Skyfall. 4, Goldfinger. 3, Empire Strikes Back. 2, Lord of the Rings. Number 1, High Society. That's an interesting one to put at the top of your list. Dude, nice list, Patrick. A good mix of films in there. You got obviously classic Empire Strikes Back, Lord of the Rings. You also got some more obscure stuff. You got some good comedy. I like it. And then Out of My League, again, that's the first time I've seen that one pop up. Nice list, dude. All right, Sam O'Neill writes, Hugh Jackman's Van Helsing is a guilty pleasure of mine. Whoops. Probably because he's one of my favorite actors and does all of us Aussies proud. Well, first of all, I've said before, I will say it again. Hugh Jackman is, bar none, the greatest all-around entertainer in the world. I really believe that. He is an Oscar-level actor. He is a Tony Award-level Broadway performer. He's a he's a great singer. And he can dance. He's a Broadway show guy. He can do it all. Now, there are other actors or singers who also act, actors who also do some other stuff. And yeah, but they're not world class at like all of them. Hugh Jackman is the total package. I believe he's the greatest entertainer in the world overall. That said, yeah, Van Helsing's a pretty bad movie. So that is a perfect candidate to be a guilty pleasure. Because it also, oh my gosh, trying to remember, the girl from Underworld was the main female lead in that too. Kate, I'm freezing on her last name. Anyway, so she had her in it, so I was all excited, about it. Not so good, but that's what makes it a perfect candidate to be called a guilty pleasure, Sam. All right, Sam also sends in another one, and it's a really big super chat. Thank you, Sam, for supporting the channel on that level, man. Also, I'm leaving for Japan today for 2 weeks. I was talking to a couple people yesterday, and one is leaving for Japan next week, and they go to Japan every year. They were swearing that both of them had been before, but this one person was leaving again next week, and they both swear, you haven't seen anything till you've gone and traveled to Japan. That's what I keep hearing from people. And I think one of these days my buddy Sol just recently took a big trip to Japan. Kaori goes to Japan often. I know a lot of people go to Japan a lot. I always hear it's amazing. Anyway, I'm also leaving for Japan today for 2 weeks, so I will be behind, but that just means I can spam your show at work when I get back home. My favorite comic book movie is the first Avengers. I thought I'd throw that in here as well. We'll have a fantastic time, Sam, on your trip. Again, I hear nothing but amazing things of traveling to Japan, and it just so happens that I also believe that the first Avengers movie is the best comic book movie of all time. Have wonderful, safe, but also enriching trip. Enjoy Japan, dude. Just watch it. Don't get too addicted to tentacle porn while you're out there. All right. John Wadkin writes, top 10, Inglourious Bastards. My favorite. What was my least favorite Quentin Tarantino movie? Now my favorite Quentin Tarantino movie. Go figure. Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. The Mummy 2. Really? The second one, Anchorman, love that. Carry On Screaming, Pulp Fiction, Dark Knight, Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. I'm surprised how many people are putting Scott Pilgrim on their lists. I love Scott Pilgrim. Edgar Wright, obviously, it's set in Canada, so obviously I love that, but I'm really surprised, and so I love it, but I'm surprised it'd be on this many people's list. Winter Soldier and Quigley Down Under. All right, John, you win for, I think, the first person ever to mention Quigley Down Under as being on their list. Good on you. Good on you for that, John. All right, thanks for sharing that, dude. Let's see. Schuler Jeffress writes, Bad Boys 3 is coming out in January, which gives me pause. I've always seen that month as a dumping ground for movies studios don't have faith in. Do you agree, or has this become less so over the years? Here's what I think, Schuler, all right? I have been saying for some time, we go to the movies year-round. Now, yes, there are busier seasons, summer, the Christmas season, a lot of people go to the movies, but I really believe going to the movies is year-round. And I've said for a while that there are certain months in the year that have traditionally been seen as dumping grounds and used as dumping grounds for just pawning off their crap films. But I've said for a while, I believe that there is opportunity there. That a studio could take a January or take a November or take something like that and put out one of their big tentpole films and clean up because the competition will be weak because everybody else treats it as a number gun. I've thought for a long time there is big opportunity there. I don't like the trailer for Bad Boys 3. I thought the Bad Boys 3 trailer was a bad trailer. That's just me. I know most people liked it, and that's great. And I love Will Smith, and maybe the movie will be awesome. But as far as I didn't think the trailer was good. But I believe that there is a big opportunity there for them to do some really big business. So I don't necessarily take that as a bad sign. I think that's a sign that they're taking advantage of an opportunity. And who knows, maybe it'll turn out that it was a bad movie and they were just dumping it, but I don't think that's the case. I suspect they're just taking advantage of an opportunity. So whether I'm right or wrong, we'll find out soon enough. All right, thanks for sending that in, man. All right, John Watkin writes, Face Off, Daniel Craig, Tom Cruise, Bond versus Hunt. The one problem with that is, I'll tell you here in a second. Let me bring it up. I'm going to get the actual Daniel Craig height. Daniel Craig is listed at 5'11". Okay. 5'11". That's actually short. I've met the man. I thought, okay, anyway. Tom Cruise height. He's listed as 4 inches shorter at 5'7". And I think 5'7" is generous. I actually think Tom Cruise is probably 5'6". Anyway, the only reason I don't think that works is because the massive physical difference between them, right? They've got to be roughly the same height because you got to remember they're supposed to be the same character just with a different face put on them. So I don't think you can have Daniel Craig and then Tom Cruise. I don't know that would work. And that would be a challenge for anybody trying to do Face Off with Tom Cruise. So that's the one thing I don't think will work on that. Anyway, Jerome Smith II writes, just wanted to thank viewer Harry John. He recommended the show on Netflix called Better Than Us on your show 3 weeks ago. Just finished it. Okay, first of all, that is one of the reasons, Jerome, why I love it when people write in with suggestions. Quite often, I don't have time to check. Sometimes I have. Doom Patrol, I took everybody's suggestion when I did that. That's just an example. But quite often, I don't have time to go check out those suggestions. But the important thing is, a lot of times on this show, people write in and they give suggestions of movies and TV shows, and other viewers see that, and then they go into. I've gotten so many, first of all, comment sections on the videos, but email messages, Twitter messages from people saying, hey, somebody on your show recommended blank. One of your viewers recommended blank, and now it's like my favorite show on right now. And that is the best thing about this. I love that you guys send their suggestions, and Jerome is just a great example of why. So good on you, Jerome, and thank you to Harry John, because you turned Jerome on now to a show that he really enjoys. That's because of you. Take that. You've made somebody's world a little bit better. Think about that. All right, let's move on here. Rolling Gamer 258 writes, Hey, John, going to see A New Hope with a live orchestra performing the soundtrack for my birthday on Saturday. Very excited. Love your World of Warcraft play and chat videos. Well, thank you so much, Rolling Gamer. And you know what? I've gone to see that about 5 times. About 5 different times I've gone to watch Star Wars with a live orchestra playing the music over the movie. If you are a Star Wars fan, it is a wonderful experience. Absolutely fabulous experience. And you have yourself a good time. And I'm glad you like, I got to tell you what, I just really enjoy having a live chat while I'm playing World of Warcraft. I don't know why I dig it so much. So thank you for when I, play. For those of you who don't know, every once in a while, I'll live stream me playing World of Warcraft. Particularly World of Warcraft Classic is what I'm playing right now. And I have a lot of fun doing it. So thank you, Rolling Gamer, for joining in and being part of that. I appreciate that, dude. All right, Mike Jones writes. Mike Jones sends in a big super chat. Thank you, Mike, for contributing to the channel on that level, man. Turning Professor X and Magneto black is a good thing. Mutants were slaves instead of just blacks. The Civil War was to free mutants. Magneto traps humans in the negative zone. Professor has to team up with Reed Richards. I don't know. I think that's taking it a little bit too far. See, here's the thing. I believe that for narrative's sake, let's be clear about this. When you bring in Magneto into the MCU, it can't be the traditional Magneto having come from the German concentration camps because that character would just be too old now. Remember, Ian McKellen played that, and that was 20 years ago. That was 20 years ago. So, no, I don't think you can have Magneto today be a Holocaust survivor. I think it has to be a different event in human history, more recent human history, that showed the worst parts of humanity that would have turned a young man with mutant abilities, to hate humanity and believe that humanity is the worst thing in the world and become totally dedicated just to the cause of mutants. And the concentration camps and the Holocaust was a great tool to use to tell that sort of story, but you got to tell a different one now. And some of the worst, like one of the worst ones is like the Rwandan massacre. I thought, you do a Magneto now, a younger version of Magneto, where he came out of the Rwanda crisis, where he saw the worst in humanity, that human beings are the worst, then that would explain a black Magneto. Not for this, just for the sake of making Magneto. Look, I don't believe in changing the race of a character just for the sake of it. But if there's a narrative purpose to it, then I don't see there any problem with it. Eric Lencher being white is inconsequential. And unfortunately, the Holocaust is too far removed to use that as your character basis now. So I'm out for it. But understand this. I still believe that just because you make Magneto black, I don't think that means you have to make Charles black. Remember, Charles and Magneto never came from a similar background. They both came from very different backgrounds. So if we go with, say, a black Magneto, which I'm all for if it suits narratively, it doesn't automatically mean Charles has to be black. Charles can still be from England. He doesn't come from a particular time period that needs to be adhered to. So you can make him white, you can make him black. Ultimately, it doesn't really matter as long as you're telling a good story. And as long as you do that, I'm all for it. So we'll have to sit back and wait and see how that goes, Mike. But it's going to be interesting to see how the MCU decides to handle those characters. And everybody remember, like Stan Lee, like he confirmed several times that the whole basis of Magneto and Charles Xavier was an allegory of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King and Malcolm X. With Charles kind of being the Martin Luther King, Magneto kind of being the Malcolm X with their worldviews. And they were just kind of an expression of that. So why not? Anyway, it'll be interesting to see how Marvel decides to handle that moving forward, Mike. All right. Angel Palma writes, one of two. We need the boys' Funko Pops. Imagine for a translucent, we get an empty Funko box. That's a bit, but to be fair, I believe I've seen some Funkos with an invisible character, but they just make them you can still see it's like they're still a figure. It's just that they're clear and see-through, but they're still, that's probably how they would handle translucent. But that would be funny if they just sold an empty box and said translucent on it. Angel also writes, have you seen the movie Searching? One of the best. Yeah, we've talked about Searching many times. John Cho, Deborah Messing. It was one of those movies that looked completely useless to me. And then I only saw it because a bunch of my friends saw it and were like, that movie that looks like it's nothing? Searching? Wait, the one that looks like it's found footage looking on a computer? Yeah, it's really good. I'm like, all right, I checked it out. It's great. It's really great. Ryan Lohner writes, Stephen King's The Dark Half has the most shocking twist ever. Someone says not over the phone and then makes it to the meeting. Well, don't give away anything. I don't know what The Dark Half is. I don't read a ton of Stephen King, so I don't know what that is. But what Ryan is referring to here so eloquently is the fact that I mentioned my biggest pet peeve in movies was somebody says, I got some really important information. And the hero says, what is it? And then the other character goes, not over the phone. Meet me somewhere at midnight. And then obviously, you know, that character's going to die. And then never give the information that he couldn't give over the phone, which is stupid. They've done that in a million shows and TV things. So he's saying somebody says that and it actually happens. That's shocking. It'll never make it into the movie then. It'll never make it into the movie. All right. Shelly Belly writes, hi, John. I hope you're feeling better today. I'm making it through. Your commitment and dedication to your channel and your fans is incredible. You are the best. No, seriously. I'm the lucky one that I feel a responsibility because the support that you guys have given the show and me personally over the last few years, particularly when I left my corporate overlords, has just been mind-blowing. And it's not the commitment I have shown to my viewers. It's the commitment our community, and I'm not going to get emotional. It is the commitment that our community here has shown to me, completely undeserved, completely generously, and it is my privilege to be a part of this community and to do these shows and to talk about our favorite things. It is an absolute privilege. And so I thank you for your kind words, Shelley. But the honor, believe me, is definitely mine. And thank you to all of you guys, by the way, who have shown that commitment, what would you say? Commitment and dedication, that you have shown commitment and dedication to me completely undeservedly. And you have given that to me anyway over the last couple of years. So thank you so much, guys. All right. Thanks for sending that in, Shelley. All right. John Keeley sends in a really large super chat. Thank you, John, for supporting the channel on that level, dude. Writes 1 of 2. Greetings and salutations again from Scotland. And thank you. Is it bad that every time I think of Scotland, all I can think about is So I Married an Axe Murderer? Is it bad? Anyway. And thank you, John, for your kind words on Thursday for my 50th. I remember that. Your 50th birthday, dude. But I'm sorry if my mentioning Schnepp caused you to have a little embryo. No problem. I love any excuse to talk about Schnepp. My intention... That's awesome, man. And again, it is the great thing about the film fan community is that we can all get together and talk about this stuff that we love. And the fact that, and I've told this story before, John, I've always said you can go to anywhere in the world, sit down at a table with a stranger, and you guys can start talking about movies. And one of the great examples of this, and it's happened to me many times, but it was this one year at Comic-Con. I had to call an Uber late. And I got in this Uber car. This one dude is from a totally different part of the world and didn't speak great English. Not to enforce a stereotype, but didn't speak great English. And we passed by a billboard and, he kind of, blah, blah, blah. And it started a conversation. All of a sudden, we started talking about Lord of the Rings. And it was a great conversation because it was like a 12-minute ride. And we started talking about Lord of the Rings. And I remember when I got out of the car, it's like, this dude who's just driving away now, total, absolute, and complete stranger to me. I never met this guy in my life. His background and my background, incredibly unlike. He's from a totally different part of the world with a different religious background, clearly a different cultural background, all this kind of stuff, and we've never met, and we just had a geek out conversation together and had a lot of fun talking about movies. Movies is one of, you can have a rich person, a poor person, a big person, a small person, a politically left and a politically right person sit down and talk about The Godfather and have a great time, even if there's hardly anything those two people can talk about. Otherwise, you can talk about that stuff. The movies is a great unifier because we as a species are and always have been storytellers, and we all celebrate storytelling. The movies, like sports, is a great unifying thing. And even when, you know, we have our darker shades, like the DC Marvel fanboys versus the DC fanboys versus Marvel fanboys, and all that kind of stuff. Yes, it does rear an ugly head, but overall, the nature of movies and stories, and we as a fan community, it's a great unifying thing. And the very fact that even right now, thousands of us are watching the show right now, and we're talking about this stuff. We're from all over the world. We're from different walks of life. We're different personalities with different religious backgrounds, maybe different sexual orientations, maybe different political beliefs, whatever. But we can all get together and talk about the movies. We can talk about how exciting it would be if Danny Boyle did a third 28 Days Later. We can all get together and speculate and geek out. Is Robert Downey Jr. going to be back in Black Widow? Like, it doesn't matter what our backgrounds are. We can come together to that collective table and talk about it. And that's one of the things that I love about movies so much. Movies to me are important. They are. And I think a lot of people don't get that. But anyway, thanks for sharing your thoughts, John. And I'm glad you can be a part of this community, man. And again, I hope you had a fabulous birthday, my friend. All right, next up, Dylan Wolf writes, is there anything from comics you'd love to see on screen someday? Personally, I'd love to see a great Batman trilogy lead to a Nightwing solo movie, as long as you don't have little kid Robin in it, because I don't believe that works in a live action thing. But I mean, I'm always just open to seeing them giving us whatever. I mean, you know, I've always said I would love I know we had him as a minor character in a couple films. I would always love to see a Bishop movie. I've always loved Bishop. But a true telling, a live action, The Dark Knight Returns. That's one I've always wanted to see. And a secondary wish would be the X-Men storyline, Age of Apocalypse. Not that brutal Apocalypse movie they made, but a true Age of Apocalypse. That would be a tough one to do. I admit that would be a tough one to do. But The Dark Knight Returns, that one you can do. They made a great animated version of it. I would love to see a live action version of it. Gabriel Reed writes, I think Detroit Rock City, Kiss, is a fun film. It's ridiculous at times, but I grew up watching it as a kid and still love it as an adult. Dude, I got some friends of mine, particularly back in Hamilton when I was younger. I got some friends of mine that love that movie, man. They quoted that movie as much as a lot of other people would, like, say, quote The Big Lebowski. Like, a couple of friends of mine back home totally dug that. So you're in good company. Gabriel Reed, working in a mirror factory is something I can totally see myself doing. Also, what's worse than ants? What's worse than ants in your pants? Uncles. Not good, Gabriel. Not good on that one. All right, James Germain writes, hey, John, after making that top 5 list, I rewatched Prince of Egypt and still so good. It's the only story of Moses that explores the family dynamic of love, that if Moses and Pharaoh didn't hate each other. And you know what? There have been some other movies that have, like, referenced that at one point Moses and Pharaoh were brothers at one point, you know, and all that kind of stuff. That is seriously... Again, a lot of people will avoid it because there is the suggestion of religious themes and stuff like that in Prince of Egypt. I'm just telling you what, though, Prince of Egypt's a really good animated film. If you haven't given it a shot, I would recommend you give it a shot because I enjoy it. Particularly a great musical number called Heaven's Eyes, which is one of the better musical numbers I've ever heard in an animated film. It's really, really good and moving. So I would say check it out at some point. All right, thanks for that, James. All right, Gene Kelly writes, if Rise of Skywalker is a retread of Return of the Jedi, I'm done with JJ. At least Ryan tried something different. JJ is just copying and pasting his scripts. No, I disagree I reject that, Gene. I completely reject that. Here's the thing. The Star Wars fan base is a finicky group because you had this big desire to give us something that feels familiar. And so J.J. Abrams did that. Did he do it maybe too much for some people's tastes? Sure, but I thought The Phantom Menace, I keep saying The Phantom Menace, I thought The Force Awakens was a fabulous movie. Not as good as any of the original trilogy, but I thought it was a fabulous movie. I really enjoyed it. Me and Schnepp speaking of Schnepp, we would go, I tell the story all the time, we would go in the afternoons just to watch it again and again, and we both liked it more and more every time we saw it. And then what happens? And, Last Jedi comes out, and people complained that it didn't feel enough like Star Wars. So, I mean, it's a little bit middle of the road thing. I particularly loved what they did. Now, even I, though, Gene, will say, you better not have another Death Star. Now, I don't mind if you're showing the ruins of the Death Star. Like, if you want to show if you want to show the ruins of a Death Star, then that's fine. Show the ruins of a Death Star. That's cool. As long as it's not a new Death Star. Like, don't have a brand new Death Star. That would just be pushing it a little bit too far. That's pushing it a little bit too far. We don't need a new Death Star. So anyway, if they do that, I'll raise my eyebrow, but I expect to see something pretty cool. We're hearing from people who've been on set that are liking it. So I don't know, maybe it'll be the greatest Star Wars movie ever. Maybe it'll be the worst thing ever. We'll have to wait and see, but I don't expect to be a retread, and we'll see. I think you got to find that balance. The right amount of familiar with the right amount of new to try to make more people happy, I think. All right, Johnny 5 writes, top 5, Kingpin, House of Flying Daggers. I love House of Flying Daggers. North by Northwest, for a few dollars more, Lost in Translation. Dude, that is probably, Johnny, honestly, that's probably the most unique list I've seen somebody give so far. Definitely the first time House of Flying Daggers has been put on. North by Northwest has been mentioned, a few of those, but that's a really nice list up there, Johnny. Good on you. All right, Hector Figueroa writes, finished watching Spy on Netflix, and wow, so good. I'm hearing good things about it. I haven't had a chance to check it out myself, but I'm hearing great things about it from many of you guys. All right, the Pop Culture Crocheter writes, halfway through Hustlers, someone put on scented cream and I had to leave because of asthma. I love going to the movies, but geez, audience members sometimes. You know what? There have been occasions when I've had friends say, I just sat beside somebody who just wore so much perfume that they just couldn't take it and they had to leave. And, I'm sure the people who do that don't do it on purpose. I'm sure. But it is just maybe an unfortunate thing. It's just an unfortunate thing. So that sucks. I really liked Hustlers. I was surprised because I didn't particularly like the trailers for Hustlers, but then it started getting all this buzz and everybody started talking about how great it was. So I'm like, all right. So I went to go check it out the other night. Very surprisingly good movie. And I don't think Jennifer Lopez has ever been better in a movie as she was in this. And Constance Wu, who I like Constance Wu. I'm not a huge fan of hers. She was terrific in it. It's a really great movie. So when you get the chance, Pop Culture, see if you can go round 2. It sucks that happened. Totally does. But I would encourage a round 2 because I really do quite enjoy the film. But anyway, thanks for sharing your story. All right. Suthius writes, hey guys, just watched Jurassic World's new short directed by Colin Trevorrow. We talked about that earlier on the show. At the end, it shows clips of dinosaurs out and about in the world. Could this be the beginning of viral marketing for Jurassic World 3? Well, we talked about that a little bit earlier. And yeah, I think this entire thing was meant to be a big ad marketing thing for the Jurassic World franchise. Look, Universal didn't put millions of dollars into this little short film just to put up a short film on YouTube. They didn't just flush money down the toilet. They had a purpose for this. And I definitely believe that a part of that purpose is promoting the Jurassic World universe and to keep it on our radar because, yeah, I think it is a big promotional piece for Jurassic World. And by the way, it's a fun little short film. 8.5 minutes. It's a nice little short film, and it really does set up that this is what the world is now. The world is, dinosaurs are out and running around. They're everywhere now. And, it's the Jeff Goldblum's dark prophecy from the original film of unleashing Pandora's box and what might happen. And it's the fulfillment of that. So it'll be interesting. Yeah, I thought they did a good job with it. All right. The new home expert of San Antonio writes, RIP MoviePass. I saw over 100 movies for $150. And that right there, new home, is why MoviePass went out of business. Because every time we went to the movies using MoviePass, they lost money. you paid them $150. They had to pay the movie theaters probably $1,500. So they lost 10 times their money off of you. And that's the thing. Every time we used the card, they were losing money, but it was good for us for a little while. Jonathan Teft writes, what's your favorite Western? Mine is Silverado. I often go back and forth. Like there's the old classics. Honestly, these days, my usual go-to movie when I think about my favorite Western is Unforgiven. That's where my mind usually goes to now. Sometimes it varies, but usually I land on Unforgiven. Jonathan Teft writes, what's your favorite war movie? Mine is All Quiet on the Western Front, which has been, by the way, on a lot of people's top films list. I may have to go Saving Private Ryan because it's a war movie. I mean, obviously you got other ones too. Platoon is fantastic. Full Metal Jacket, things like that. But the thing about Saving Private Ryan is it doesn't glorify war. Like Spielberg does such a great job of showing the heart and heroism of people who are involved, but also showing it as this sucks. War sucks. And I think it's just a movie that accomplished all of that. Heroism, heart, great characters, the nightmare that is war at the same time. I kind of go with that one. Jonathan Teft also writes, did you watch The Court Jester with Danny Kaye yet? No, it'll probably be a while before I've had no time, and I may not have time for it might be a year or two before I watch it, but it is one that's on my radar now. Ben Ellman writes, got to see Star Trek: The Motion Pictures in theaters for the first time yesterday. Since it originally came out 21 years before I was born. What an experience! And again, Star Trek: The Motion Picture, the first Star Trek movie, is divisive amongst people because there are people like me that thought that was just a bad movie. I love a number of other Star Trek movies, but that first one was rough. But there are also people like Robert Meyer Burnett who see that and just think it's genius, that it's a brilliant extension of the Star Trek original series into the movie world, and that it's brilliant. So it's kind of divisive on that front. So I'm glad you had a chance to see it, Ben. And I'm glad you fell on the side that you had a good time watching it, because that's always good. All right. Ricardo Ramirez just sends in a super chat. Thank you, Ricardo. Appreciate that, man. Magic K writes, Suicide Squad cast list is wow. Even Michael Rooker is on the list, despite he was previously said he wasn't going to be cast in Suicide Squad. Yeah, I find a lot of times, yeah, be careful with what actors say. And it's not like he said he'd never do it or anything like that. And maybe that happened before he got brought on. Who knows, a lot of things, but it is an impressive list. I mean, when you look at it, it's an impressive list. Like a couple of names that really get me excited. Obviously, Nathan Fillion. Obviously. Idris Elba. Obviously. Margot Robbie. Obviously. I like Jai Courtney, as a matter of fact. I've always liked him. He hasn't always been in the best stuff, but I've liked him ever since Spartacus. So and I like Joel Kinnaman, by the way. I like him too. So you got Taika Waititi. I like Sean Gunn. I mean, it's a really impressive lineup, and clearly a lot of them are going to die because he says in the post, don't get too attached. It's going to be interesting, Magic K. Okay, Wesley Cunningham writes, full title, Robert Meyer Burnett, first of his name, Lord of the Burnett work, Viscount of Verisimilitude, Master of Fun and Wonder, and the Mother of Dragons. You know, it's funny, Robert came in this morning. Robert and Aaron showed up today, and the first thing we did was we sat down and we watched the Jurassic World short because they hadn't seen it yet. And he's like, the first thing he said when he came in was like, dude, I don't know how or what. But he said, that thing that you called me, that Master of Fun and Wonder, it's totally caught. Because now I'm getting all these messages that start with greetings, Master of Fun and Wonder. It's totally caught on. But it's true. Robert Meyer Burnett, writer, director, producer, editor, Mr. Robert Meyer Burnett is truly the master of fun and wonder. So I'm glad we recognize him as such, Wesley. Wesley also writes, and also, hi, John and Aaron, by the way. Saw 2 films, Official Secrets and Freaks this weekend. Awesome indies. Look them up and check them out. You know what? Hold a second. I'm just going to put that on my IMDb list here. There we go. And I'm going to check those out a little bit later. Thank you for sharing that, Wesley. All right. Jose Menevar writes, My Hero Season 4 starts in October. Going to be great. I've never heard of My Hero. Do you mean My Hero Academia? Because I know what that is, but I don't know what I'm just going to go on a limb and guess you mean that. Anne keeps telling me it's good and that I should check it out at some point. Jose also follows up and writes, Mob Psycho 100 is another anime everyone should watch. Season 2 was the best animated thing on TV this year. I'd be curious, where does something like that air? It's too bad Chris Carr isn't here right now because she'd totally know what you're talking about. I've never heard of Mob Psycho 100, but I'd be curious to know, where would one watch something like that? Is that a Netflix series? Is that a Crunchy series? Is that something else? I'd just be curious about that. All right. Kiona Tang writes, Hey, John, my family and I just moved from Honolulu, Hawaii to Claremont, Florida. First, why would anybody move out of Hawaii? I've never even been there, but I'm just wondering, why would you move out of Hawaii? Anyway, moved to Claremont, Florida, which is near Orlando. Actually, I love Orlando. I've only ever been there once. I went to Orlando for Star Wars Celebration a couple years ago. Loved the town. I just loved that town. Anyway, I got to go. And Anne was just there for a week. Anne, who just got back today, she's been gone. I haven't seen my wife in a week. And she just got back from the airport as we were doing the show. But she's just been in Orlando for a week. I love that town. Anyway, so we went to Disney World for the first time yesterday and visited Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. It's awesome. I don't have my phone here with me, but I would show you pictures that Anne sent me of her being at Galaxy's Edge in Orlando, which is great. I love, again, I think they made a mistake not incorporating more original trilogy stuff into Galaxy's Edge. I really do, but it's still wonderful. I mean, you just feel like you've walked into the universe of Star Wars, which I think is great. So I'm glad you had a good time and enjoy Florida, my friend. All right. Next up, JMZ1121 writes, Top 10, no order except number 1. Godfather, obviously. Reservoir Dogs, Pulp Fiction. So a couple of Quentin Tarantino movies are right up there. Toy Story, 50 First Dates. You know what? A couple of people have put 50 First Dates on their list. I don't dislike 50 First Dates. Don't get me wrong. I don't dislike that movie. But I've never been the biggest fan of it as far as Sandler comedy goes, but I am, whatever. Never Back Down. That's never been on any list here. I believe that's the one with Jaimon Hansu in it, right? Anyway, Dark Knight, Whiplash, X-Men Days of Future Past. Love that one. And Sin. Oh, number 1 is, I thought you meant Godfather was your number 1 is Sin City. Really, my company that I used to work for, I used to work in visual effects. We actually did a couple of shots of that first Sin City movie. We did. That was probably the best movie we had ever worked on. It's not the movie we made our most money on, but it was probably the best movie we ever had a chance to work on. We just did a couple of shots. Out of the hundreds of shots, we just like 1 or 2 shots, but it took us weeks to do. But with Sin City, I love that movie. It's fantastic. Jessica Alba in that. Oh my God. Anyway, Evelyn writes, Shia LaBeouf is having a comeback. Not only Peanut Butter Falcon got great reviews, but Honey Boy also got strong buzz for his acting and writing. Here's the interesting thing, Evelyn. I don't know if you'd call it a comeback. To quote the great, don't call it a comeback. All right. A little LL in there. But, he's been around doing smaller indie stuff for a while. And the thing is, everybody in this town already knows he's freaking brilliant. He's psychotic and a few crackers short of a full pack. But that aside, when it comes to acting, the dude is brilliant. He's just fantastic. He was in that war movie. I'm trying to remember the name of it. He was in with Brad Pitt, and he was in with who were some of the other guys? I mean, it was some really, really strong actors in the movie about the tank where Brad Pitt's character's name is War Daddy. I'm freezing on the name of the movie, but at any rate. And he's in with a bunch of really high profile actors, and he acted circles around everybody. Shia LaBeouf acted circles around everybody in that movie. And there are some damn good performances in that movie and some damn good performers. And Shia LaBeouf just owned it. Every scene he's in, he just completely owned. So, Oh, I'm getting, and you guys in the live chat saying Fury. Thank you. Yes, the name of the movie was Fury. Thank you, Geeks Galore and Desmond and Dawn and Jam and Connor and everybody throwing that in. Yes, it was that, and he was incredible in it. Everybody forgets that. So I don't know, Evelyn, if I'd call it a comeback. It's just he's doing what he does, and he's just getting some more recognition right now. So it'll be interesting to see what this translates into, if anything. We'll keep our eyes on that. King T'Challa writes, so that's a clever name. Top 10. Bloodsport, you will be next. Jumanji, RoboCop, Steve Jobs, Hacksaw Ridge. I love Hacksaw Ridge. House Party. There's one that doesn't get off mentioned. Logan, Kill Bill Volume 1, No Country for Old Men, and Terminator 2. Some fabulous things on that. I've never seen House Party mentioned. House Party, that's a first time. That's a first time King T'Challa. But again, nice list. You got a great drama like Hacksaw Ridge, like No Country for Old Men. But then you got Bloodsport, Jumanji, and RoboCop in there too. It's a good eclectic mix, man. I like it. Well done. All right. Josie Reviews writes, have you seen Happy Death Day to You? Thoughts? I finally got around to Happy Death Day to You. I liked it. Look, the first one was a huge surprise to me. I love the first one. I thought the second one was really good. Not quite as good as the first one. That's fine. It's too bad more people didn't go see it, though. Min Tran writes, which do you enjoy more? Movie with low expectations that turns out to be great, or a movie you're excited about that delivers? It depends on the individual movie. It really does. It depends on the individual movie. There's no one general thing. All I know is that I love it when I have a movie that I have high expectations for and it meets those expectations. And I love it when I go into a movie that I had no expectations for and it ends up delivering. That's always good. But there's no formula that says one I have a better experience with than another. It really all depends on the individual film. But I just know, Min, both times, when you go into a movie with either of those experiences, it's good. It's a good outcome. All right. Sean Armwood writes, have you seen the Amazon Prime series Undone? It's a masterpiece, only 8 episodes worth of watch. I'll tell you what, Sean, I've never even heard of it. But I'm becoming a fan of the Amazon original series stuff, particularly with The Boys. That's for sure. Do me a favor, Sean, would you mind emailing me at john@thejohncampeashow.com and send me a link to the show page. And I'd like to check it out and get some more information, but I'll be honest, I've never even heard of the damn thing. So please send that to me. I'd be very intrigued by that. Thanks for the recommendation. All right. Darth Scorn writes, I finally bit the bullet and started Lucifer. I'm still only on season 1, but I love it. Always love it when people become, Luciphites. I don't know what we would call ourselves, people who love this show, Lucifer. It's so damn good. I cannot wait for the next season. I refuse to call it the final season because I'm still hoping another miracle gets pulled out, but I love this show. It is so quirky and clever and funny. I just adore it, and I cannot wait for the next season. So I'm glad you're on board with it, Darth. I'm glad you're enjoying it. All right, Orange Hand writes, is agenda the most ridiculous toxic fan buzzword? Yes. Mostly because usually the people who are complaining about made up agendas, they're the one with the agenda. Like, that's the funny thing here. Whenever I hear somebody complaining about agendas, it's usually a 90% chance that they're the ones with a massive agenda. So it always does irritate me when I see that. Anyway, Royce Freeman writes, I heard Two Bricks last film had material in the I heard Two Bricks last film had material in at the studio objected to, but he had final cut, and once he died, they made those changes. Thoughts? I'll be honest, I don't know what we're talking about. I don't know what Two Bricks is off the top of my head. Hold on a second. Unless I'm just missing a reference. I don't know what Two Bricks is. Oh! I'm like, Two Bricks. I'm like, is that some dude? Is that like... I don't know. Is that like Tupac? I mean, okay, you meant Stanley Kubrick. Clearly, Royce, you're dictating that into a phone. You're probably using a Siri or something like that to voice dictate. Okay. All right, 2 bricks. I'm not familiar with the story, Royce, but I will say this. The movie is theirs. The movies belong. Look, whoever pays for something, they're the ones who own it. If they paid for it, they own it. You know, if you break it, you buy it. Well, you pay it, you own it. And if a studio has a movie that they paid for and it belongs to them, if they decide that they want to change it up afterwards, guess what? To them, Stanley Kubrick was just a hired hand. I know it feels really wrong and weird thinking about it in those terms, but it's kind of true. He was a hired hand. And yes, he's the artist and all that kind of stuff is true. But at the end of the day, they own it. It's theirs. They paid for it. It's their property. And if they want to change it up, here's the thing. Here's the analogy. Let's say you own a house, right? And you hire this artist, this painter, to come in and paint your living room. And they come in and do this great job. They had a vision for how your room would look. And let's say it's an interior decorator. You hire this artist, this interior decorator who had a vision for the house, and they did the house, and you paid them. It's your house and you paid them, and they do all that kind of stuff. And they consider it their masterpiece. Well, now let's say it's like a year later. And let's say you're looking in your living room and going, you know what? I kind of want my living room to have more lighter tones. I want I think eggshell white on the walls will make all the other pieces in the room really pop. For whatever reason, the bottom line is, does somebody have a right to tell you, too bad, you can't change your living room in your house that you paid for because this artist did it? You would say, screw you. This is my house. I paid for it and I live in it. I can do whatever the hell I want in here. Of course you would. And if you want to make those changes, you can. And it doesn't mean other people will like the changes you make, but who cares? It's your house. You get to decide what you want in it. And when it comes to those movies, would I do that? Probably not. I wouldn't do it. But hey, it's their movies. If they want to do a change to it, that's their prerogative. I wouldn't do it. But I also can't object to them doing it because it's theirs. Just like the house is mine. And if I want to paint the walls something different, who are you to tell me I can't? Screw you. It's mine. I paid for it. So there's that. There is that. It's a tricky topic, though, dude. It's a tricky topic. All right. Trev8 writes, if Rambo Last Blood gets poor reviews, does that hurt its chances of being number one at the box office this weekend? Well, listen, I think it already has a problem being number one at the box office. Look, whenever a movie gets bad reviews, it will hurt. It doesn't kill, but it hurts their box office outlook. Studios know this. They talk about it all the time. When a movie gets bad reviews, it hurts its box office. It doesn't kill it. But if a movie, say, would have made 500 or not 500, let's say a movie would have made $100 million opening weekend, but it got terrible reviews. Well, maybe now it makes 85 million. Now it still made a lot of money, still made a huge amount of money, but it would have made more. With Rambo, I don't think it's a foregone conclusion because remember, it's going up against Downton Abbey, which is incredibly popular worldwide. And it's also going up at the new Brad Pitt film, who's who's on a roll right now, coming out of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Ad Astra, that's also getting a little bit of Oscar buzz. So, I mean, I think Rambo will be number one at the box office, but I think it's going to be close, and it very well may not, whether or not it gets good or bad reviews. So, yeah, that's something for us to keep in mind. All right. Let's see here. Scott Brown just sends in a super chat to be supportive. Thank you, Scott. Holy GBS writes, hey, John, I am a Rams fan and was looking forward to the rematch with the Saints this Sunday, but even I felt bad that the Rams won the way they did yesterday. Well, here's the thing. I live in LA. And first of all, if you're a Rams fan, you should always feel bad for the Saints with the way that the refs screwed the Saints out of that appearance in the Super Bowl. I mean, that most blatant offensive pass interference ever in the history of offensive pass interference. It was defensive pass interference. The most blatant case of pass interference that there has ever been in the NFL. Right near the end of the game, when the Saints were marching down to probably take the lead and probably win that game, Rams fans, and I like the Rams, by the way, very much. They're not my favorite team, but I really like the Rams. Rams fans should always feel bad for that, and should always, when they're talking to a Saints fan, should always start with the conversation with, hey, babe, sorry about that, the 2018, sorry about that, dude. Every conversation should start with that. Anyway. But no, it's the sport. I mean, it's really too bad for Drew Brees with the hand and everything, but it's the sport. Nobody intentionally hurt him. They didn't go out of their way to hurt him. It just happened, and that's sports, man. It's a physical game. So nothing to feel bad about there. Just always apologize. Any Saints fan you ever meet, apologize about the screw job that they got in the divisional finals. Anyway, let's see here. The Fellman writes, top 10. Number 1, Emperor's New Groove, Interstellar, Train to Busan. A lot of people love that film, man. Babe, they regarded each other. Dark Knight, Home Alone, Ink. Which one is Ink again? I feel like I know that. Hold a second. Let me just pull that up. Why do I know this film? Why is this not loading? Come on. Oh, no, I'm not familiar with this film. I'm not familiar. That's cool to see on the list. Shawshank Redemption, V for Vendetta, and Sing Street. I remember when Sing Street came out, it was one of those films that nobody was really paying attention to. It was just a little indie film. And then all of a sudden people started watching it and going, oh my God, this movie is brilliant. And it was. It's fantastic. Such a fantastic film. Good to see it on your list there, Fellman. All right. Juiced Stacks writes, 90s Spidey and X-Men cartoons on Disney Plus here. It's great. We were talking about that a little bit earlier. I'm kind of anxious. I'm interested in going back and watching those old X-Men cartoons now. A little bit too much focus on Jubilee, granted, but I loved that cartoon when I was a younger man. I got to go check that out. Rugo Calvin writes, who cooks better, Thanos or Gordon Ramsay? It was funny watching Endgame because that did go through my head. When we first see Thanos there and he's making soups and stuff like that, because I watched me and Ann watched the Food Network, and it was kind of funny seeing him doing a little cooking time with Thanos. It would have been interesting. All right. Only got time for a few more guys because my voice is about to die. Connor Farley writes, wow, the new Irishman poster is bad. Ooh, I've not seen it. Hold on a second. Let me bring it up. Let me see. The Irishman... Let's take a look at this poster. That's not so bad. I mean, I've seen worse. For those of you who don't know what we're talking about, let me bring it up here. First of all, let me get it a little bigger. Okay, let's try this. There we go. The Irishman. That's not bad. I mean, it's not the greatest poster I've ever seen, but I don't know, man. I don't see anything wrong with that, unless we're talking about two different posters. Unless there's another one I haven't seen, but I actually don't think that's that bad, Connor. But maybe you're seeing a different one than I am. Darth Scorn writes, I just want one Jurassic movie where a kid gets eaten because they are a liability. Wouldn't it be great? What movie was it? Oh, it was another one of the Jurassic Park movies where the dog actually died because the T-Rex, they look out the window and the T-Rex just has the dog's chain hanging out as well. It's like finally the dog, and I'm a dog lover. I love dogs, but it's always crazy that, millions of people can die, but the dog got away. But it would be neat to see if just one kid bites it. One kid's got to bite it. All right. Scott Brown writes, number 1, Terminator 1 and 2. Number 2, The Last Crusade. Number 3, Alien 1 and 2. Number 4, The Thing. Number 5, Empire Strikes Back. Number 6, Man of Steel. Love Man of Steel. Number 7, Spider-Verse. Number 8, I think you might be the first person, Scott, to actually put Spider-Verse in your all-time top 10. Does my heart good to see that. Number 8, Batman Begins. Number 9, Fury Road. And number 10, Blade Runner 2049. Again, whenever I think, Scott, about Blade Runner 2049, it's much like Edge of Tomorrow. You just lament about what it could have been if they just marketed it right. Because Blade Runner 2049 was borderline a flop. Even though the movie's great, and I don't like the original Blade Runner. I really like Blade Runner 2049. But they so brutally marketed it, they just refused to ever tell the audience what the movie's about. They had this really pompous attitude of, it's Blade Runner. We don't need to tell them what this movie's about. They should just come out and be thankful to whatever gods they worship, that we're letting them watch our brilliant movie. No, fuck you. You need to tell the audience what they're getting in for. Just tell them what the movie's about. You don't have to spoil the movie. You don't have to give it all away. Just tell the audience what the movie's about. And they just refuse to do that. It's like, no, our movie is Blade Runner. They will come flocking out just for the chance to see it because it's called Blade Runner. And what happened? Basically, it flopped. And it's too bad because Denis Villeneuve made a great movie. And it's really too bad about that. Anyway, good to see you on your list, Scott. Okay. Michelle Espinoza writes, it's Independence Day here in Mexico. No work today. Finally able to see a show live. Love the show and love Aaron and Rob. Well, thanks so much for that, Michelle. And as a matter of fact, you know what's funny? Because Ann was out of town, I decided I've been worn out, which probably why I'm getting sick. But I was kind of worn out. I thought, I just need to get out of town. And I decided, I'm just going to drive out to Vegas. I'm going to go to Vegas for like an overnight or whatever. So I go out to Caesar's Palace, and everywhere is Mexican music. And I'm walking around. For those of you who follow me on Instagram, I put something up on Instagram about this. Right in the middle of Caesar's Palace, there's this I see this big crowd of people. I'm hearing this loud mariachi music. And I go over there, and there's this mariachi band just in the middle of Caesar's Palace, fully decked out in the traditional clothes, playing this music, and people are dancing and celebrating. And then literally all night, in like some of the clubs, they're just playing this like traditional Mexican music and the hundreds of people just singing the songs together. It was wild. It was really great. So you know what? If today's that day, and I don't pretend to know the national holidays of all the different countries, but then happy Independence Day to all of our Mexican friends out there, our movie loving brothers and sisters out there. I hope you enjoyed it because it was a big kick for me being out in Vegas when that was going on. So anyway, thanks for sharing that, Michelle. All right. Let's see here. Just two more questions. I need to wrap it up. Alejandro Flores Rosales writes, I cut the Dish Network cord, John, at the age of 20. Well, I don't know what age you are now, but yeah, I remember I cut the cord a long time ago. Like I was actually probably one of the earliest people to just realize, you know what? I can get most of my entertainment just online. And I got rid of cable probably 10 years ago. Or close to 10 years ago, I probably got rid of cable. And you really don't need it today, especially since there's so many now streaming things that will show you what's on live TV, whether it's Sling, the DirecTV app. I use YouTube TV. Hulu has a live TV option as well. There's so much of that now. There's just no need to have a cable subscription anymore. It's just true. Trevor 8 writes, maybe Gunn is saying don't get too attached because people would dig up old tweets and get the whole cast fired before the movie is filmed. Oh, Trev, so many places to go with that. It's an astute observation. It's a good little callback on that, Trev. It's a good post, man. It's a good post. Last one here. Suthius writes, and in other news, I'm still Asian. Fury scene? Meh. Yeah, I mean, the Fury scene was nice. But it doesn't mean anything. I mean, come on, let's be honest. It doesn't mean anything. All right, guys. Hey, listen. Everybody else who still has questions outstanding here, we're talking about, where are we at here? So we got from Christopher Bigelow, Paul Diego, Iron Boy Wonder, Iron Fist movie. All you guys, don't worry. Your questions are going to get answered today in a companion video that Robert Meyer Burnett is doing because I'm going to rest and relax after I do the live chat. And by the way, reminder to all you guys who are Patreon supporters, we are 15 minutes after we're done this show. I'm going to hop on our Discord server and we're going to have, I'm going to jump into the live chat. We're just going to have a big chat in there about today's show and any of the stuff that we talked about here today. So if you're a Patreon supporter, use the links that you guys got to go over and meet in there. And we'll be doing a live chat and I'll be in there in about 15 minutes or so and we'll start talking about all this stuff. So make sure you guys join me there. All right, guys, that will do it for today's installment of the John Campea Show. Thank you so much for being here and being a part of the film fan community, guys. Again, don't forget a companion video that will be the makeup of the companion videos from Friday. All the questions I got sent in yesterday and today's leftover questions. It's going to be a big one, but Robert Meyer Burnett's going to be doing that for you guys today. Keep your eyes open for that to come up just a little bit later. All right, guys, don't forget the John Campea Show returns again tomorrow. Robert Meyer Burnett will be here. Chris Carr will be here on a Tuesday. Make sure you guys join us for that. That'll do it for me for now, guys. My name's John Campea. Thanks for being here, and until next time, bye-bye.